For most of us, growing up and becoming a teenager means finding out who you are as a person, making friends along the way, and even possibly dating and finding love. However, for Debbie Thornberry, growing up meant nothing but frustration, isolation, and just kind of watching her teenage years slip away in the middle of nowhere. Imagine spending your teenage years living a nomadic lifestyle in the wilderness, far away from any friends, stores, or any real sense of normalcy. For Debbie, this wasn't a hypothetical picture this scenario. This was her life, and sadly, it wasn't one that she ever really wanted in the first place. In all reality, Debbie wasn't just an angst-filled teenager. She was trapped, forced to live a life where she never got the regular experience that any normal teenager got. An experience that she so desperately longed for. And the more that we watch her story unravel, the more heartbreaking that it gets. On its face, The Wild Thornberrys was a fantastic cartoon, centering around Nigel and Marianne Thornberry, the husband and wife documentary filmmaker team who live a nomadic lifestyle with their daughters, Eliza, age 12, and Debbie, age 16. Along with their pet chimpanzee Darwin and Donnie, a young feral boy that they found in the jungle on their travels, they live their life on the road out of a renovated RV that they call the Comfy. Nigel and Marianne are well known for their documentaries, as well as their efforts in preserving wildlife, and of course they're incredibly thankful to live the life that they do, having the ability to chase their dreams and make a difference along the way. However, the joy that they feel from living this life isn't shared equally among everyone. Sure, Eliza absolutely loves to be able to tag along with her parents, given that she takes heavily after them and thrives in a nature setting. And, well, there's the fact that she was given the magical ability to talk to animals by a shaman. That adds an awful lot of enjoyment to her everyday life. However, for poor Debbie, that just isn't the case. In so many ways, she's the black sheep of the family. While everybody else is enjoying the fast-paced international lifestyle that the family has chosen to live, Debbie is left feeling the effects of it. The effects of a life that she doesn't fit into, and one that she never really had the opportunity to give an input on. And that's why today, on our nostalgic walk down memory lane, we're gonna deep dive into the Wild Thornberrys to uncover the episodes that truly highlight just how heartbreaking Debbie Thornberry's life really was. To start things off, we're checking out an episode that starts to scratch the surface of Debbie's frustrations with her life in a very significant way. We're looking at the Season 2 episode, Dear Diary. This episode begins in South America, specifically the city of Cuzco, Peru, tucked away in the Andes Mountains. We see all sorts of tropical birds mid-flight around the beautiful mountain scenery as the Comfy comes barreling around a corner. Inside of it, we see Eliza attempting to sit down and play checkers with Darwin. However, he isn't interested because Eliza always beats him due to his inability to understand the game. Since he refuses to play with her, she decides to go ask Debbie if she's interested.
Hey Deb, how about a game?
Let me think about it. No.
Come on, you can write in your diary later.
Mom, Donnie must have ripped the screens again because there's an annoying little pest in here.
Okay, Debbie, thanks.
Eliza walks up to her dad and asks if he'd like to play, but sadly, he tells her that though he'd love to, his navigational skills are needed right now, so he can't. As Eliza walks away, frustrated that no one will play with her, their mom remembers that they haven't done the dishes from breakfast this morning yet.
Nice going.
If you would have just played with me, I wouldn't have had to ask Dad.
It's your turn to dry.
It's your turn. Time for gazelle, fruit, and lion. One, two, three. You lose, gazelle eats fruit.
I knew that. I hate that stupid game.
They continue driving down the road until they come upon a group of locals, and Nigel has Marianne stop so he can talk to them. Nigel speaks his awkward Tim Curry Spanish to them as he asks for directions, but Marianne stops him, saying that isn't necessary because she knows exactly where she's going. However, right after she says that, the locals tell them that they're going in the exact opposite direction of their goal, El Diablo Peak.
Muchas gracias. Adios. We were completely off course. Good thing we asked, eh, love?
I suppose, just this once. But from here on out, we'll rely on the Marianne Thornberry innate sense of direction.
Marianne makes a 3-point turn on the mountainside to get going in the right direction. Meanwhile, inside of the Combi, we see Eliza and Debbie trying to make the best of their chores as they do impressions of their grandma, making each other laugh as they mock her mannerisms. A while later, they arrive at El Diablo Peak, and Marianne pulls their new mini-com out of the Combi, happy that they can cut down time on the walk through the trails.
Okay, girls, we're off to film the alpacas. And since you two have been so good about working together with your chores, I'll let you decide which one of you has to watch Donnie. Bye, girls.
Johnny, bye, poodles. Take care of each other. Bye-bye.
The two girls argue about whose turn it is to watch Donnie, and just like before, they use their modified version of rock, paper, scissors to decide. This time, Debbie ends up winning, and Eliza is frustrated that she has to be in charge of keeping Donnie out of trouble all day. She heads toward the Combi, and inside, we see Donnie jumping on Debbie's bed and just going wild. As he jumps, Debbie's diary falls out from under the mattress, and when he notices it, he picks it up and starts ripping pages out of it.
Donnie, no, that's Debbie's diary.
What's a diary?
It's a book Debbie writes her most secret and private thoughts in.
What does this say?
No, Darwin, I would never read someone else's diary, ever. I just had to put this back before Debbie finds out Donnie had it. Hey, there's my name.
Ooh, what's it say?
Eliza starts reading Debbie's private thoughts about her, talking about how much of a geek that she is and saying that she's an embarrassment. Just then, though, Debbie walks onto the Combi and Eliza panics.
What's going on? What are you hiding?
Nothing.
Let me see! My diary!
This is not what it looks like.
I can't believe you! Can a person get any privacy around here? What kind of sister are you?
Don't worry, I didn't read your precious diary. I was just putting it back together after Donnie wrecked it.
Eliza stomps her way off of the Combi, and outside, she vents to Darwin about Debbie's audacity in writing those things about her in her diary. We then see Debbie toss Eliza's backpack to her, telling her to go take one of her hikes with Darwin and Donnie, and as she slams the door, she says not to come back in a hurry. We cut over to Marianne and Nigel, who are cruising along the mountainside looking for the alpaca herd that they want to record, as Nigel says that he has a sneaking suspicion that they missed a turn.
Look, there's someone up ahead. What do you say? Just this once, let's go hog wild and ask for directions.
Oh, why would I ask for directions? Nigel, trust me.
Oh, I wonder if other husbands have this problem.
As they're dealing with that, we see Eliza crossing a shallow river with Darwin and Donnie as she continues to go on about how Debbie does a lot of things that she doesn't like, and that when she was Eliza's age, she was a total geek as well. After getting it out of her system for a bit though, she takes a big breath and gives Darwin and Donnie a hug, telling them that they're the best.
I feel better already.
Good, forget all about Debbie and her silly little book.
My own sister, can you believe it?
Oh, Eliza, can't you just forget the whole thing?
No, Darwin. Reading that diary wrecked my whole day.
As Darwin continues to try to make Eliza cheer up, he begins to suggest different things that they can do, such as rolling in some grass or going into the mysterious dark cave nearby. Of course, the cave sparks her interest, and Darwin immediately regrets even bringing it up.
Great idea, Darwin.
Yes, Darwin. Great idea, Darwin. Maybe next time we can visit a family of cannibals, Darwin.
Inside of the cave, Eliza discovers that they've likely stumbled upon some ancient Incan ruins. She wants to explore further, much to Darwin's dismay. As they trek further in, a colony of bats flies by them overhead, causing Darwin even more alarm. He warns Eliza that they need to leave because something bad is going to happen. However, she doesn't listen, instead questioning Darwin's instincts.
What is with you two? It's an earthquake! I gotta get out of here!
Up above, we see Debbie panicking through the earthquake as everything around her rumbles. Down in the cave, though, Eliza, Darwin, and Donnie narrowly escape the falling tunnel as they make their way to a wider area. The rumbling finally stops, and Eliza decides that it's time to go back. Unfortunately, though, much to her surprise, they're completely sealed in by the earthquake that just happened. As Debbie cleans up from the aftermath of the rumble, her radio buzzes as her mom is attempting to reach them to make sure that they're okay.
Actually, I'm by myself. Eliza took Donnie and the monkey on one of their nature walks.
Hold on a minute, Debbie. What in heaven's name is that, Nigel?
I'm afraid the fire alarm's been triggered.
Honey, I gotta go. Go find your sister for me, will you? Over and out.
Debbie goes into the comvy and takes a seat, grabbing the microphone and shouting into it for Eliza to come home. As those words echo through the mountain range, we cut back to the cave where Eliza is taking inventory of the little supplies and food that they have left, which is just a few candy bars. As that's happening, a rat makes his way towards them, asking what they're doing in here.
We're trying to get out. That earthquake trapped us in here.
Too bad. I can slip out of anywhere. It pays to be a rat.
Do you know another way out?
There's lots of ways out. You just have to feel your way around. Oh, why did I ever say we should explore these silly caves? Actually, it's all Debbie's fault. After all, she's the one who threw us out.
Eliza pays no mind to Darwin as she continues looking for a way out instead of focusing on whose fault all of this is. Thankfully, Donnie found a very small hole at the top of the caved-in entrance, and Eliza heads on up to see if she can get through. Sadly, the opening is too small. She can, however, hear Debbie calling to her through the loudspeaker on the comvy.
Debbie! Help! What am I doing? She can't hear me without a loudspeaker.
Let me try.
Monkeys. They're everywhere.
Back in the cave, we see Donnie, Eliza, and Darwin trying to plan their way out. With Donnie being the only one who can slip through the hole, they have to plan effectively since he can't really communicate with anybody that he comes across. As Donnie tries to just head out on his own, Eliza stops him, and as she picks him up, she's surprised to see Debbie's diary fall out of his shorts.
You little sneak.
What are you doing?
Writing a note. Debbie can't stay mad at her only sister, can she? Here, Donnie, take this to Debbie. Go on. And when you get back...
Donnie excitedly climbs through the hole, and he sprints out of the exit of the cave, but unfortunately, Eliza's note falls out of his pocket, landing on the ground near the exit of the cave. Donnie makes his way all the way back to the campground, but sadly, when he goes to look for the note, he realizes that he accidentally lost it. From there, of course, it progresses into a game of charades between Donnie and Debbie as he tries to explain everything to her.
Reading. Writing. Ah! My diary? Eliza has my diary? Ah! I put it right here. That little sneak must have snuck back in and took it. Ah! 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 My nails! That was my third coat. Not first, not second, but third.
When Debbie finally stops yelling, she realizes that Donnie ran away. Back in the cave, we see Eliza splitting the chocolate 3 ways for them. However, when she eats her piece, Darwin just scarfs down the other 2, calling it every chimp for himself. Eliza tries to talk him down as he's elevating in a panic, and as she does, she looks down, finding what seems to be an ancient Incan artifact on the ground. As she picks it up, she hears Donnie's rapid babbling and is very hopeful that he brought Debbie with him.
Debbie, where are you? Donnie, where's Debbie? She's still mad at me? Even though I'm stuck in this cave? Okay, so I read her diary. Suddenly my life isn't worth saving? I'm sorry I ever read that stupid diary, even if it was a mistake.
As Eliza is going through her struggles with what led her here, Darwin and Donnie are having a little conversation of their own in the background. Donnie wants the chocolate bar wrapper, but Darwin seems to tell him that he'll only give it to him if he can get them out. At that, Donnie hops up, grabbing the ancient artifact that Eliza found, and he climbs on up while Darwin talks to Eliza, questioning why she's reading Debbie's diary when that's what got them into this situation to begin with.
Oh, what difference does it make? Debbie's obviously never going to forgive me. I might as well know what else she thinks about me. Oh, great. Now I'll never know.
Back at camp, Debbie is peacefully sleeping when she wakes up to Donnie dropping the ancient Incan artifact on her lap. She questions him, and Donnie proceeds to pull on her, run laps around her, and fold her into the chair until she finally gets the picture that she needs to follow him. She grabs her backpack and heads toward the direction that Donnie is leading her. A while later, we see them arriving at the cave, and Debbie pulls out her lantern to light their way. As Eliza and Darwin sit in the darkness of the cave by themselves, they hear the faint sound of Debbie calling to them as the light from her lantern shines down from above.
Debbie, we can't get out!
Don't worry, I'll get you out.
Oh, Eliza, I feel strange again.
You're wrong this time. My big sister's here to rescue us.
Oh no, it's that weird feeling again.
The dust settles, and thankfully everyone is okay, but sadly now Debbie is trapped in the cave with them. She looks around for a way out, but there isn't one in sight. They do, however, stumble upon a new path that was opened in the earthquake, one that exposed some ancient underground ruins. They all head forward to check it out, and just like that, we cut back to Marianne and Nigel, who are both pulling ropes attached to the minicom, getting it out of the ditch that it's stuck in. Once they're back on the road, they buckle up, and yet again, Nigel suggests that they ask for directions, but his wife isn't having any of it.
Oh, Nigel, I know exactly where I am. There! Ready to go on camera, darling?
Marianne, you're astounding. Oh, I wish I could marry you all over again.
Back in the cave, Eliza is questioning why Debbie didn't follow Donnie back when he brought her that note, but Debbie says she never got it. Eliza explains that she found Debbie's diary in Donnie's shorts, and that she used a blank page to send him with a note saying that they needed help, and when she didn't come back, she thought that Debbie was still mad at her.
Even if I was still mad at you, which I am, I still would help you. What do you think I am, a self-centered teenager?
I'm the one who ought to be mad after what you wrote about me.
I knew it! I knew you read my diary! You said you didn't! What else did you read?
Nothing. Just that one page about me.
I don't believe you.
Are you calling me a liar?
I don't know, but I'm putting the no-talking ban on right now.
Eliza keeps talking to Debbie, questioning why she thinks she's a geek, and Debbie tells her it's because she does things like spitting on an old dumb spoon and scrubbing it like a maniac. As the arguing continues, eventually they hear what sounds like running water. Eliza spies the rat from earlier and asks him where the running water is coming from, and he points her down the direction of a tunnel nearby. They all go looking for it, and eventually they find themselves wading waist deep in the stream running through the cave. However, that little stream very quickly turns into rapids, and they all end up being plunged down the riptide. Eventually, it leads to a dead end, and they find themselves up against a massive boulder.
Hang on! I'll be right back.
Finally, you okay?
Yeah. Take a deep breath and follow me. It's not far.
The group all swim through the tight corridor underwater, and they come out on the other side to find a massive ruin built from hand-carved stones. Debbie gets even more frustrated, saying that this is just getting them even more stuck than they were, and at that, Eliza sits down, asking Debbie if she really meant what she said in her diary.
Yes. No.
Which one?
Both. Look, some days you bug me like now, and some days you don't. Ugh. August 8th. What a bummer. My pen pal Sven hasn't returned my last 5 emails. We're in a blizzard even though it's summer and I should be at the beach and there's nothing to do. Eliza and I just played checkers. I think she let me win. She's not so bad, really.
Wow.
Yeah, well, now you know.
Just then, another massive colony of bats goes flying overhead, and Eliza watches them fly towards an overhead path. Thankfully, the way that they're going leads to a way out, and they're all very relieved to find themselves finally getting some fresh air and sunlight.
Following bats out? How geek-like.
Thanks, Squirt.
Back at the convy, we see Eliza and Darwin enjoying some food and drinks after being stuck for a whopping 5 hours in that cave. Nearby, Debbie finishes writing in her diary, and Eliza approaches asking whose turn it is to give Donnie a bath. Yet again, the two play their version of rock, paper, scissors to decide who has to do it.
I win. Lion eats fruit.
Nope, fruit gives Lion a stomachache.
I knew that. Ugh, who made up this dumb game anyway?
Let's not tell them what happened. Deal?
Deal. Now, fruit beats lion again. Why?
This episode truly fits the bill as the perfect one to start us off, in my opinion. It's one of the many episodes that gave us a good look at the family dynamic at play here, but it also zoomed in a lot at the back and forth dynamics between the individual characters. Of course, we saw Nigel and his struggles with Mary Ann's stubborn nature. We saw the general parent-to-child back and forth between the girls and their parents, and of course, we saw the complex relationship between Eliza and Debbie as sisters. As far as looking into these individual relationships goes, I find myself really appreciating that this show didn't just follow the typical trope of one kid taking after their mom and the other taking after their dad. I feel like the fact that Eliza isn't a walking clone of Nigel and Debbie isn't a walking clone of Mary Ann really makes for such an interesting and complex family dynamic as far as a TV standpoint goes, because it can tend to make things just a little less predictable. I do have to be completely honest about something though. I remember watching this show as a kid, and at the time, I totally didn't like Debbie. Not specifically in the context of this episode, but like in general. Hearing her diss Eliza the way that she does all the time and constantly being such a downer really just made me see her as the bad guy. However, nowadays, it's almost in a way like my opinion has completely flipped to feel the opposite as I had before. To be honest, in watching this show, and you're gonna see this for yourself over the next few hours, Eliza genuinely seems to be the instigator of issues 10 times out of 10. Like, half of the bad things that happen in this show are a result of Eliza just being Eliza. This episode was 2 seasons in. By this point, we have dozens of established examples of her causing issues simply just because she didn't get her way. And this right here was another example of that. Sure, you can point out that Debbie had a pretty rude attitude about it from the start when Eliza asked her to play checkers. But then again, she told Eliza no, and Eliza just kept pushing. Then things go bad, and Eliza blames it on Debbie because she didn't just say yes, which forced her to keep bothering Debbie. And honestly, that right there is just some severe mental gymnastics on Eliza's part. It was her actions that led to all of this happening on every level. Yet somehow Debbie got blamed at nearly every point. Debbie said no to checkers, so Eliza started bugging her parents, leading to them being told to do the dishes, and somehow that's Debbie's fault in Eliza's eyes. Then, when Donnie got into Debbie's diary, and Eliza was just trying to put it back together, she saw the page with her name on it. Even though she just said she would never read someone else's diary, she decides to help herself. But it's Debbie's fault when Eliza gets offended, because she's the one who has those thoughts in the first place. This right here is just the epitome of narcissism. How dare you think anything negative about me in your own personal thoughts that no one else is supposed to see? It's just so obnoxious the way that Eliza shifts the blame onto Debbie simply just because she doesn't want to take responsibility for her actions, and Debbie tends to be a pretty easy scapegoat for her. On one hand, I want to say that Eliza has some serious main character syndrome, but she's the main character in this show, so that kind of feels dumb to say. Plus, she's just a kid, and well, kids can be obnoxious. However, I will say she is very self-centered at times, and her getting powers really just kind of heightened that. It made her feel more important than she already felt like she was, which kind of made her head bigger in a way. With all of that being said though, I'm not trying to sit here and say that Eliza is a terrible character and that she's all bad. I'm more just annoyed at myself for always seeing Eliza as the good guy 100% of the time when I was a kid. In my mind, Eliza could do no wrong, and in hindsight, it drives me nuts because she was obviously in the wrong here. Another thing that really doesn't help how Eliza is though is Darwin and the way that he just kind of echoes everything that Eliza says. From the start, when Eliza was ragging on Debbie, Darwin was immediately ready to dogpile. I mean, he even doubles down, passing all of the blame to Debbie whenever anything goes wrong from here. This ultimately just plays into and increases Eliza's frustrations, but it also says a lot about Darwin. I mean, he was so quick to blame Debbie for them being stuck when, like he said, going into that cave was his idea to begin with. Furthermore, we all know that Eliza, Donnie, and him would have gone out exploring whether Debbie told them to take a hike or not. Eliza isn't the kind of person to go to Peru and sit in the convy all day. They're all the way in the depths of this cave, yet somehow it seemed like if he had stubbed his toe on a rock, it would have been Debbie's fault. With that being said though, he's a chimpanzee, and he can't even figure out how to play checkers, so I can't really fault him for a lack of social and emotional wherewithal. In the long run though, in analyzing everyone's reactions here, I can't help but point out how Debbie's reaction to what happened to her with her diary was completely justified. Come on, she walked into not only Eliza seemingly hiding her diary, which had pages ripped out of it, but Eliza was also very hostile towards Debbie, when she was the one caught with the diary. I mean, if we're being honest, Eliza made it clear as day that she was angry about something that she read in there. If it was truly as honest of a situation as Eliza was cleaning up the diary after Donnie had destroyed it and nothing more than that, then Eliza's reaction when Debbie walked in wouldn't have been like this. It likely would have been a lot more gentle, and she wouldn't have been hiding the diary behind her back like she had a secret to cover up. On top of that, if she didn't have anything to hide, she likely wouldn't have been as extremely defensive and elevated as she was. Again, this is just another thing that has me face-palming. Eliza is just so in the wrong that it's almost hilarious. Of course, we can't not bring up that part where Eliza is convinced that Debbie isn't going to forgive her, so she decides to just go ahead and read her diary. This right here is so frustrating in and of itself. I really don't know what I'm more disappointed in. The fact that Eliza would think so little of Debbie that she would assume she didn't want to save her before she assumed that Donnie messed up his mission and didn't get the note to her, or the fact that as a result of that assumption, she would jump to reading the rest of the diary because why not? It was almost like fate that the flashlight kept trying to go out over and over the second that Eliza pointed it at the diary. To me, it felt like either fate telling her not to give up hope, or it was fate trying to tell Eliza that she's got the situation all wrong and she needs to stop. Like, it even gave her a few chances, but when she pointed it at Debbie's diary a third time, it was like, nope, third strike, you're out. If you can't behave yourself, you don't get any light at all. By the end, though, the two sisters come to a mutual understanding of one another, and that's something that I do have a lot of appreciation for. It was almost kind of a realization that though they're drastically different from one another, they're still sisters, and they're both on the same ship, so to speak. To be specific, they both mutually decide that everything is okay, they survived, and their parents don't need to know what happened because that'll just be signing them both up for trouble. The secrets like this between the two of them are what siblinghood is made of. It shows a strong foundation between them that A, despite some big negative feelings at times, is solid, and B, will always be solid because due to the nature of most of these secrets between them, if their parents found out, both of them would be in trouble, and of course, neither of them want that. In a way, it kind of adds an extra layer of security to their secrets staying between them, and that certainly helps maintain a mutual trust despite major emotional battles between the two. Another really massive point of this one is that it's a great episode to dip our toes into the ocean that is Debbie's frustration with their nomadic lifestyle. It certainly was a huge thing long before this episode, but this one showcased a very huge and valid point in those frustrations. There are many more to come, but one of the biggest in this episode was her complete lack of personal space. For the love of privacy, these girls barely even have a bedroom to share. They have bunks in the general living area. Debbie can't even find a solid place to hide her diary because it will inevitably be stumbled upon by someone. I mean, even if her family had the courtesy to not read it, the simple fact that there is absolutely no privacy whatsoever is very alarming. Like, that's just kind of a basic human necessity. It's crucial to be able to just have 2 seconds to yourself sometimes in your own space. The only way this family finds any privacy is when they leave their home, and in my opinion, that's pretty unhealthy. Their convy, as cool as it is, isn't a home. I mean, just imagine not being able to even go to the bathroom in your own home without the other 4 people and a chimpanzee hearing every single noise. Even the slightest tinkle. On top of that though, this one excellently shows the strained relationship between Eliza and Debbie. Honestly, I feel like if they had a normal life, the two likely would be able to coexist without too much issue, given they would have their own spaces. Honestly, with them being crammed into the convy all day, their relationship, which is already very dysfunctional, is inescapable. By the time that they finally made it to the right place and set up camp, I'm sure Debbie was just dying for her parents and sister to finally leave so she can have some Debbie time, considering that's pretty much the only time she can have some peace and quiet to herself. On the whole, it's one of those situations where you just have to stop and analyze your own life and realize how lucky you might be in comparison to Debbie. Of course, no one has a perfect life, and we all deserve room to have our own frustrations. But like, even if you share a room with your sibling, at least you can probably leave and go to the living room to get space, or heck, even step outside for a second and just not be around them. Debbie, on the other hand, can't even do that whenever she wants. At any given time, that combi could be moving, leaving her stuck inside with everybody else, likely for hours on end without the ability to get away and just have her own space. On top of all that though, and possibly the biggest factor of all that this one showed us, is just how much that Debbie is an outsider in her own family. I mean, she's forcibly dragged out to spend her daily life being a part of this traveling nature documentary when she herself has no interest in any of this. Nigel, Marianne, Eliza, they all love nature, animals, and exploring. They live for this lifestyle. Debbie, on the other hand, let's just say she would rather be exploring malls and buying clothes made of animals. It kind of feels like her opinions and what she wants for her life are completely overlooked as a result of the majority being in favor of spending their life on the road instead of a static life on even just the same continent. But the dark truth about Debbie runs far deeper than this. What we've looked at so far is just scratching the surface, just the foundation for something so much heavier. The next episode we're going to check out dives into an even darker aspect of Debbie's resentment and how things we've already discussed compound into something so much harder to ignore. We're checking out the Season 3 episode, Happy Old Year. This episode takes place just north of the last one in Quito, Ecuador, still nestled in the Andes Mountains. We see Eliza and Darwin gathering some grass as Marianne comes out of the convy with an old squishy pumpkin from behind the couch.
Ooh, your mother's got a pumpkin. I know what that means. We're going to dress up and get lots of candy.
Oh, Dar, it's not Halloween. It's New Year's Eve.
What's that? Do we get candy canes?
No, see, here they make a man like a scarecrow and call him the Old Year.
That's very nice. Do we get presents?
You just got presents at Christmas.
Seems like years ago. Thank you for the mittens, by the way.
We learn that each member of the family is donating an item of their clothing to build a scarecrow as Nigel brings up a few pairs of trousers for them to help him pick from. As they both giggle at his eclectic choices in clothing, he heads back inside as Marianne explains the symbolism behind the tradition to Eliza.
So we're really going to burn this Old Year guy at midnight?
Yes, and with him, all of the family problems that we want to leave behind with the old year before moving into the new. We'll make a list.
That won't be hard.
As Eliza starts listing all the things that she has a problem with, including Donnie taking stuff, he runs by and steals Marianne's bandana that she donated to the cause. Thankfully though, he ends up putting it where it belongs as Marianne calls to Debbie, who is struggling to find a shirt of hers to donate to be burned. Finally though, she finds the perfect fit.
Ta-da! Let the celebration begin.
Debbie, that's the shirt that Dad...
Wait, does hideous pink clash with ugly plaid? What am I saying? The guy's got a pumpkin for a head.
Something terribly familiar about that frock, Deborah.
Yes, it was a Christmas gift, Debbie.
It's a rather distinctive shade of... is that magenta?
It's pink. Obviously, someone didn't read my memo about no more pink.
Nigel excuses himself and goes into the convy, possibly hurt by what Debbie said. Marianne reminds her that Nigel bought that shirt for her from a marketplace in Morocco, and clearly Debbie feels guilty about what she said. We cut to later on, where the Scarecrow's shirt has been swapped out and the family is putting on the finishing touches when Marianne offers to let Eliza write the list.
What list?
Of family problems that we're going to burn at midnight. Don't you listen?
I'll get you, Squirt.
Marianne gets between the girls as she says that she'll get the list started. She begins saying that they spend so much time in close proximity with each other that it's only natural that they forget to be kind to one another. When Nigel questions if she means well-mannered, she corrects him, saying that isn't the issue. It's more along the lines of thinking before they speak.
Okay, just say it. You all think the biggest problem in this family is me.
Poppet, whatever are you talking about?
You all think I'm terrible because I didn't like the pink blouse. Dad was so upset he ran into the convy.
Well, actually, I went looking for the receipt so that you could exchange it.
Nigel, didn't you trade your last tin of kippers for that blouse?
Oh, yes.
You gave away your favorite smelly fish for my present. Oh, man.
As Debbie feels guilty, thinking that she made her dad cry, everyone quickly realizes that he's just sniffing the scent of someone approaching with some fresh-baked Ecuadorian pastries. That person would be none other than Senor Alvarez and Eliza's good friend, Santusa the llama, who, if you recall from my only other past video about this show, convinced Eliza to go off on her own away from her dad, which caused her to get lost in a blizzard and nearly freeze to death. But that was in the past. Eliza is so excited to see that Santusa is doing well. Nigel explains to Senor Alvarez that their family is on their way to Peru, but they decided to stop and celebrate the new year here in Ecuador.
Could Santusa stay overnight with us?
I don't know.
Oh, please. I'll take good care of her, I promise.
Well, it is okay with me if it is okay with your parents.
Mom? Dad?
Oh, we certainly had a fine time traversing the Andes with this cloven-hoofed ruminant. Eh, Eliza? Just nod and smile. I never did tell your mother you were lost in a blizzard.
Eliza's parents agree as long as Santusa doesn't go inside of the convy, and as the two of them walk off, Senor Alvarez gives Nigel the basket of pastries for New Year, telling him that the only catch is that he has to wait until midnight to eat them.
Adios!
Hasta mañana.
Hasta mañana!
Bye, Alberto.
We've got until tomorrow together. What should we do?
Well, we could take a walk or eat some grass or go see this long thing made of rope that goes over a really deep hole in the ground and people go on it and grab the sides and go like this.
A rope bridge?
Yeah, that's it.
Darwin pulls Eliza aside, reminding her of how much trouble that Santusa got her in last time they hung out, but Eliza is completely unfazed, just excited about how much fun that they're gonna have. As they prepare to leave, Debbie starts panicking about a low-flying plane nearby.
That plane's trying to attack me!
No, it's not. Those are aerial acrobatics.
The plane makes a safe landing and pulls up nearby the Thornberrys. The passenger hops out and shakes Nigel's hand, introducing himself as Merrick Dash. He apologizes to Debbie for scaring her with their aerial stunts, as his wife and pilot, Mitzi, comes up to join them. Debbie kind of puts her foot in her mouth for a moment, questioning their choice of style, which leaves Marianne cringing and telling her to stop. However, Mitzi says that she finds Debbie's blunt honesty very refreshing.
Glad someone thinks so.
How would you like to go for a ride?
Me? In that old thing?
Below us! That's why we're here!
To climb a mountain?
No! A volcano!
Later on, we see Debbie excitedly telling her family all about the flight and how much fun that it was. She explains that Merrick and Mitzi are volcano chasers who spend their days flying to active volcanoes hoping to catch a major eruption. She says Mitzi even gave her a jacket, having seemingly stumbled upon a newfound love for vintage.
That sounds like interesting work.
It's more than that. It's incredible! Do you know they go all over the world?
We go all over the world.
Whatever. They are this close to danger all the time.
We come close to danger.
That's right. Wasn't it just last week you were bitten by a tsetse fly?
Week before last. No, perhaps you're right. Well, I could check my rash.
Debbie dismisses them, saying that their version of danger isn't anywhere as cool as lava spewing from an active volcano. She tells her mom that Mitzi invited her to stay the night with them inside of the volcano tonight, as she begs Marianne to let her go. Her mom considers how dangerous that is, leaning towards saying no, but Debbie says that the volcano hasn't erupted in about 100 years. From there, Marianne brings up their plans for New Year's Eve, which reminds Nigel that they haven't even had the chance to finish their list of things to cast away with the old year in the midst of all this excitement.
Yeah, well, can't you do that without me?
No way, it wouldn't be the same.
She has a point, Deborah. I'm sure if you told Mitzi and Merrick that you had a prior commitment, there would be no hurt feelings.
Oh, right. Bring that up again, Dad. So I just go around hurting people's feelings, do I? Fine. I'll be in my room.
Did I miss another memo?
Inside the convy, we see Debbie packing a bag full of stuff. She picks up the pink blouse that her dad gifted her, and she looks at it, letting out a big sigh that subtly screams guilt, before she packs it into the bag that she's bringing with her. She writes a note saying that she's going to the mountain, and she peeks outside to see if the coast is clear.
Do you think I should have a talk with Deborah about this whole pink blouse business? I feel terrible.
Let's give her a little time to cool off. Don't you think Senor Old Year is looking rather stunning?
Oh, indeed. He looks too good to burn.
Debbie quietly steps out of the driver's side of the convy so her family can't see her slipping away. She looks up and sees just how far the mountain is from their camp, so she decides to take Santusa without asking and ride her up the mountain. She struggles at first to climb onto Santusa's back, which catches Darwin's attention. He tries to make some noises to alert everyone, but Debbie shoots him a death glare, causing him to silence himself in fear. Debbie ends up getting her footing and guiding Santusa towards the mountain as she's yelling to Eliza, alerting her that someone is taking her. Of course, Eliza tries to stop her, but Debbie is on the horizon by the time she starts shouting at her. Eliza goes over to tell her parents, but they've already found the note that Debbie left.
I'm afraid you and your sister won't be together for this most festive of holidays, New Year's Eve. Still, at least you have Darwin and Donnie and your loyal llama companion.
Oh.
Nigel, we didn't exactly give Debbie permission to go off.
But she did leave a note. That was quite thoughtful of her.
Thoughtful? She stole my llama.
I'm going to radio Mitzi and Merrick and tell them Debbie is on her way.
Oh, super fabulous idea.
Eliza grabs her backpack and tells Darwin that they're going to go get Santusa back. He argues, saying that she's gonna be back eventually, but Eliza says by the time she gets back, it'll be time for Santusa to go home. Just like that, they head off and we cut over to Debbie, who's ascending the mountain on llama back and struggling to keep control of Santusa, who wants to stop for a snack whenever she wants. Elsewhere, we see Merrick and Mitzi with their camp set up, and Eliza, Darwin, and Donnie are arriving. She asks them where Debbie is, and Merrick tells them that they didn't even have any idea that she was coming.
Didn't my parents call you on the radio?
It's hard to get a clear signal in this wind. Do you think your sister is lost?
She should be here by now. She was riding a llama. Never mind. If you see her, tell her I'm looking for her and to stay here with my llama.
No, wait!
Bingo! The volcano's erupting!
There could be a mudslide. Better try the radio.
Merrick tries to radio Nigel and Marianne, but the signal is pretty broken. They're able to make out there's danger on the mountain and that their children are there, but that's about it. The two go outside to see smoke pluming from the volcano as the ground rumbles beneath them. In a panic, they try to think about how they can save the kids and Darwin when Nigel spots Merrick and Mitzi's plane parked nearby. As they run towards it, complete with Nigel tripping on the way, we cut back to the mountain, where separately everyone is looking for Debbie, however they're having no luck. Meanwhile, we see Debbie really high up on the mountain, wondering if she's the only one here as she calls out for Merrick and Mitzi to no response.
No! Mama, come back!
Ah!
As mud continues to rapidly pour from the mountain, Darwin, Donnie, and Eliza are panicking over the big boom that they just heard. All of a sudden, Santusa runs up and they realize that the volcano is erupting and Debbie is still up there by herself. Eliza says that they have to go get her, and as that happens, we cut back down to Nigel and Mary Ann, who is just dumbfounded about the fact that she had no idea that her husband knows how to fly a plane. The two fly toward the mountain, hoping an aerial view will help them spot the kids. Meanwhile, Debbie is sliding down the mountain on the bag that she packed. She flies past trees and rocks until finally she crash lands into Eliza, Darwin, and Donnie.
What are you doing here?
Oh, I came here looking for you because you stole Santusa.
Oh, is that any reason? The mountain's exploding!
You said the volcano was safe.
What am I, an expert all of a sudden? I didn't think you would follow me.
You don't think at all.
Oh, back to that again. I am so thoughtless. Well, maybe I am.
Deb?
Excuse me, I'm having a breakthrough here. Poor Dad. It wasn't that uncool a blouse. Maybe if I dye it black.
Eliza tells Debbie to look behind her, and when she sees the landslide rapidly approaching, they run for their lives. Elsewhere on the mountain, we see Mitzi and Merrick driving and calling for them when all of a sudden they hear Nigel on the radio. He tells them to look up, and they see Nigel and Mary Ann soaring through the ash-filled clouds. Nigel asks if they've seen the girls, and Merrick tells them to check the north slope. As the girls try to outrun the mudslide, they realize that it's useless, and they decide to climb atop a pile of logs and debris. The mudslide collides with the pile with a massive whiplash, causing everyone to lose their footing. As the dust finally settles, they're all left riding the river of mud on the giant pile of logs together. Just then, they see the plane above. However, Nigel and Mary Ann are having trouble seeing through the dense layer of ash in the air.
They don't see us!
Here, grab a stick.
Help! Over here! Help! Over here!
Nigel, I don't see them!
They must be on the other side. Wait! Oh, my brilliant daughter. There they are. Mitzi, the girls are on a moving pile of logs 5 kilometers up the northern slope. Follow the plane.
Merrick says that they can't see the plane through all of the ash, but Mitzi remembers that they have some flares stashed underneath the seat. Nigel grabs them and passes them back to his wife, who cracks them and tosses them out of the plane. As Merrick and Mitzi go racing towards the flares, the pile of logs that they're riding on collides with a massive tree in the middle of the mudslide. Just in perfect time though, Mitzi and Merrick pull up and save the day. Mitzi uses a rope to lasso the tree and she pulls it tight so that they can all use it to climb to safety. With everyone finally out of danger, we cut to later that night where they're all gathered around the fire, enjoying some mugs of cocoa together. They thank Merrick and Mitzi for saving them, but Merrick says that it was a team effort, commending Debbie for her quick thinking with the flag idea.
Thanks, but the ash really did a number on my new blouse. I'm sorry, Dad.
Oh, Poppy, don't fret. And I vote we cast out polite response to gifts with the old year. Why, if I told you girls how much I dislike getting neckties on Father's Day, I would, be a liar. And an ungrateful one at that.
As the clock strikes midnight and the bell tolls off in the distance, the family looks around at everybody else who has fires lit, all enjoying their family time and thinking about what they'd like to leave in the past, embracing the new year with positive change. Merrick invites Mitzi to cut the rug together as she throws a record on the gramophone and the two begin to dance with one another. Mary Ann says that they should get to tossing their old year in the fire, but the girls politely disagree, saying that last year wasn't all bad and maybe if they keep him around, it'll serve as a reminder of what they're trying to leave behind.
Why, Debbie, that's very sweet and mature.
Come on, Squirt, let's dance.
Well, Nigel, we made it through another year in one piece.
Why, Marianne, what did you expect? We're Thornberries. Happy Año Viejo, dearest.
Happy New Year, Nigel.
As the sisters dance and their parents embrace one another, we zoom out to a peaceful mountainside and the episode comes to an end. Now, this one is an interesting episode to pick apart in the context that we're looking at it. It's an episode with so many layers to uncover, and as simple straightforward as it seemed, it really wasn't when we consider it in the grand scheme of things. Early on, this one showed us that though Debbie is rather calloused and can be very brash, she's still sensitive and cares about other people's feelings, especially her dad. We saw this point blank after she initially hurt his feelings about the shirt. It was pretty apparent that she genuinely felt bad about what she had said. We would see this regret kind of ebb and flow though. There were points where she felt bad about what she had said, and it almost seemed like not long after that, she would double down on her initial point, only to realize that she needs to just put the shovel down and stop digging herself deeper. Furthermore, as far as that's concerned, this episode also proved that Debbie herself, as confident as she may come across, can be very self-conscious. After she doubled down on her distaste for his gift and she thought that she had made him cry, she sat down saying, "When will I learn not to open my big mouth?" Obviously, this right here would show us that Debbie feels some type of way about how she talks and interacts with people. She realizes that initially she thought she was coming from a valid place that warranted the energy that she approaches with. However, the interaction makes her ultimately realize that what she's actually doing is being unappreciative towards the man who traded his last can of his favorite snack for something to give her as a gift. More than anything, this one serves as a testament to the fact that just like everyone else, Debbie isn't perfect. Well, okay, maybe Nigel. We love him. But outside of Nigel Thornberry, no one else on the face of this planet is perfect. We all make mistakes. We're all flawed, and Debbie is just a 16-year-old girl. At the age of 16, every single one of us had whiplashing emotions. Like, that just kind of comes with the territory of being a teenager and your brain going through changes. Ultimately, for the sake of this video, this one also serves to say that though we're focusing on Debbie and how dark and morbid the life she was forced into is, that doesn't by default absolve her of any wrongdoing. She was certainly wrong in this one on multiple levels. Sure, I think Debbie's life is pretty messed up, but that doesn't mean that she's going to be shielded from any critiques for her sometimes crummy actions that you're going to see throughout this video. There were multiple times in this episode that I found myself face-palming in reaction to what Debbie was doing, the things she was saying, and just her decisions in general. Looking at the big picture here, Debbie tried to burn a shirt that Nigel traded away one of his favorite snacks to eat as a gift for her. Then she throws a fit about him forgetting that she didn't want to wear pink anymore, and when he attempts to go get the receipt, she assumes that he's storming off in an emotional outburst. From there, she proceeds to weaponize that interaction, bringing it up to make Nigel feel even further like he's demonizing Debbie when that isn't his intention at all. As a matter of fact, he's the one feeling guilty outside when literally the only thing that he did wrong was forget one of her preferences when it came to getting her a gift. It's a really tough one though, because sure, if we want to put it that way and focus only on that angle of the story and the rhetoric within, it's pretty clear cut. However, it's worth noting that all of this kind of stems from Debbie struggling with multiple issues that are compounding. Again, this one showed us just how much she's the black sheep of the family in the way that she feels like everyone else acts like they're better than her. Like, for example, how Debbie asks about the list and Eliza condescendingly explains, asking Debbie if she even pays attention. But need I point out, Debbie wasn't even around when their mom explained the significance of the list and the tradition. Again, this right here is just Eliza being Eliza. That was totally rude and it just kind of felt like firing shots at Debbie for no reason. In a way, this episode in general kind of makes me feel like Debbie is to the Wild Thornberrys what Meg is to Family Guy. This right here kind of made it seem like Debbie can be a bit of a punching bag sometimes. Then again though, it could just be your typical sibling rivalry. It's not like everyone actually thinks they're better than Debbie or anything, but admittedly, her being the black sheep of the family doesn't help that feeling. On top of that though, I have to point out that later on, Debbie would do this exact same thing to Eliza. When she starts explaining that Merrick and Mitzi are volcano chasers, Eliza asks what that is, and Debbie's response is nearly identically condescending to how Eliza responded earlier to her question about the list. It ultimately brings us to question, is Debbie just returning the same exact energy that Eliza had dished out to her earlier? Or are these responses from them just kind of their natural knee-jerk reactions? I do have to admit too, I find it kind of frustrating that when Debbie called her parents out on how they were singling her out specifically for talking before she thinks, they didn't correct her and say that wasn't what they were doing. Honestly, Debbie calling them out in that moment felt pretty warranted and, well, they didn't exactly argue with her. The reason I find it really frustrating though, is that this comes with the implication that Debbie is the only problem here, when in all reality, A, Eliza was the one who dished out that energy first when Debbie simply asked a question, and B, she's the one who's forced to live a life on the road that she doesn't even want while they're all enjoying themselves. I mean, it's worth noting that not always, because there are definitely exceptions, but a lot of the time, kids who act out and run away like Debbie did often do so because their living situation isn't conducive to the lifestyle that they should be living, or it doesn't line up with the lifestyle that they want to be living. Of course, the thing is though, the lifestyle a kid should be living and the one that they want to be living might be two completely different things, and those things could be completely different from the life that they actually end up living. For clarity, this isn't to say that Nigel and Marianne are bad parents by any means. They keep their kids fed, clothed, and taken care of. But again, Debbie doesn't want this life, and it doesn't support the kind of lifestyle that she wants to have. You take a big city person and drop them in the rural middle of nowhere to live, and of course, they're going to be miserable. What's really interesting though is considering how much this dynamic kind of changed when Merrick and Mitzi showed up. In a way, they encouraged Debbie's spitfire attitude and her blunt honesty. When we look at the life that Merrick and Mitzi live, just like the Thornberrys pointed out, it really isn't all too different from the life that they themselves live. For Debbie though, she sees the allure of their lifestyle and views it as way more charming because of the fast-paced risk for danger, the fact that they're kind of contrarian hipsters, for lack of a better word, and the fact that they see a ton of value in Debbie just being herself, which her family often overlooks. This whole series of events here is really complicated if we're honest, and there are so many moving parts. Debbie didn't want this life, but maybe she would if she was considered a little more. I mean, Mitzi and Merrick made her feel cool, appreciated, and liked, and as a result, she had all of these amazing things to say about them, and she's dumbfounded about how they spend their lives traveling the world. However, she doesn't connect the dots and appreciate the fact that her family literally does the same exact thing. Maybe she would if they made her feel more valued or took the time to do things that she wants to do. With that being said though, admittedly, Debbie does shut herself out a lot. Maybe if she engaged in family activities or took an interest in her parents' recording, she might start to see them as cool also. But there's a good likelihood that wouldn't be the case either. If we're being honest, likely because these are her parents and sister, she's never really gonna find any of them as cool as Mitzi and Merrick. Her family could do the same exact things and act the same way that they do, and still Debbie wouldn't find them interesting at all because that's her family and she spends every day with them. On the whole though, this episode truly showed us Debbie's desperation for a social life. This teenager, who really just wants to be a part of any outside connection, is stuck all day with her parents and sister who get along famously, without anyone she can relate to around to chat with. Of course, when she finally meets some people that she feels are cool, she's desperate to chase that connection, even as far as running away on New Year's Eve and putting herself in danger. Now, if there's anything else I want to do before we move on, it would be just stop and look at the absurdity of the 16-year-old girl saying this young adult couple that she just met invited her to a sleepover with them inside of an active volcano. Like, with zero context, that just sounds so absolutely insane, and it's kind of mind-blowing for Debbie to think that any added context would result in Marianne or Nigel saying yes to that. I mean, I don't know about you, but that's just weird. A 16-year-old girl having a sleepover with an adult couple is just odd. Like, not even any creepy weirdo implications considered, that's just plain strange. But in an active volcano? Yeah, that's a no from me. I'm with Marianne and Nigel. I would have never said yes to that. With that being said though, I'll double down on what I said earlier. Marianne and Nigel are good parents. Their children are well cared for. But it's no secret that isn't enough to make Debbie enjoy their lifestyle whatsoever. The thing is though, Debbie's struggles don't end there. The next episode takes things a massive step further, giving us an even further look at how isolating that her life really is, especially as far as her social life is concerned. We're checking out the Season 3 episode, Hello Dolphin. This episode starts out in Western Australia at a World Heritage Site called Shark Bay. The convoy is in boat mode as they sail on through, and Eliza is through the roof excited about seeing the dolphins swim. No one else really shares in her excitement, however, especially not Debbie, who doesn't even know where they are or why they're here in the first place.
Look, it's bad enough Mom and Dad drag me all over this planet. I don't need you to make it worse by bugging me with the details.
How can he not want to swim with dolphins? They're the smartest, sleekest animals on Earth.
Who needs a dolphin when I've got the smartest, sleekest guy on Earth? Sven!
How are you going to swim with Sven? He's in Denmark.
Someday we'll meet face to face.
Debbie walks off, telling Eliza that she misses Sven so much that she needs to go email him right now. As she heads down into the convoy, we overhear Marianne expressing her concerns to Nigel about how dangerous their mission is. She's even contemplating telling the Foundation no because they've requested that they film an extremely dangerous tiger shark, and they don't have a shark cage. Nigel is completely thrilled about it, intrigued at the idea of getting close to the sharks without an artificial barrier. Moreover, he's perplexed as to why Marianne is so nervous, as to him it's just as dangerous as many other shoots that they've done without fail. She begins to stress that they had safety equipment on their other adventures, however, they're all interrupted by the shocking sound of a scream coming from Debbie.
Debbie, what's the matter?
Sven! Me! Gone forever!
You're going away with Sven forever?
Is this what has you so upset? An email from Sven? Dear Debbie, there's no easy way to tell you this, but I don't think this long-distance thing is working. Well, what's he talking about? I checked the radio this morning. It's functioning perfectly.
Nigel.
He continues to read as Debbie's boyfriend proceeds to break up with her via email, suggesting that they see other people that they can actually see in real life. Nigel tries to look on the bright side, highlighting that he at least closed out the letter by saying that he hopes they can still be friends, but that doesn't really soften the blow for Debbie whatsoever. She's still heartbroken.
Here, music always makes you feel better.
I can't ever listen to that ever again! Our song is on it!
I was just trying to help.
I know, honey, but I think what would help Debbie right now is some time with her mom. Why don't you take Donnie and Darwin to the Dolphin Beach?
Excellent. You comfort our firstborn, and I'll do my best to sail the convoy.
As Marianne focuses on being a shoulder to cry on for Debbie, we cut on over to the beach where Eliza is playing with Donnie and Darwin, who's asking about what's wrong with Debbie. Eliza kind of brushes it off, saying that she'll forget about Sven by tomorrow, and as they catch sight of some people swimming with dolphins, Eliza tries to drag Darwin towards the water as he's just terrified. They both get in, and pretty quickly, Eliza is making friends with the dolphins.
Hey, a human who can speak dolphin. I'm Colin.
Oh, it's so great to meet you. Is it okay if I touch your skin?
Of course, we like it.
Wow, it's kind of slippery and rubbery. This is so cool. Oh, there are a million things I want to ask you, but now I can't remember any of them.
My friends and I are just as curious about you humans.
The dolphin proceeds to ask about what it's like to have fingers and toes, and Eliza says that the best part is getting to grab stuff as she proceeds to grab at Darwin to get him more comfortable with the dolphins. He panics and doesn't really want anything to do with them. That is, until he pets Colin the dolphin's stomach. Then Darwin warms up pretty quickly. Back at the camp, Marianne is still trying to comfort Debbie, who's battling with figuring out why Sven would dump her.
I know all the latest music. I have incredible fashion sense, and I write excellent emails.
I remember when I was your age. The boy I was seeing broke up with me. Wally was his name. Oh, I was heartbroken.
You mean you remember being heartbroken after all these years?
Well, yes, but the point is...
I thought I would get over this someday, and now you're telling me it'll last forever?
As she comforts her daughter, Marianne sees Donnie nearby, splashing in the water and playing. When she sees a fin in the water heading right towards him, though, she jumps up frantically, screaming that there's a shark. Everyone else, on the other hand, stays calm, realizing that it's just a dolphin. Marianne feels embarrassed for mixing the two up, but Nigel says that it's a pretty common error. She finally admits, though, it happened because she's really nervous. She's terrified about this shoot, and she says that it would make her a lot more comfortable if they just went and rented a shark cage.
Oh, I suppose. For backup.
Good. We'll pick it up this afternoon at Sam's Shark Store. I reserved one. As a backup.
Sven loves me? Sven loves me not. Sven loves me? Sven loves me not.
Debbie continues weeping until Eliza comes out of the convy, telling her that her friend Jillian is on the phone for her. Unfortunately, though, she's just calling to tell Debbie that she is going bowling with her new boyfriend, which, of course, just makes Debbie feel even worse about her situation. She starts bawling again until she quickly stops, coming to an immediate realization, saying that it isn't her fault that Sven broke up with her.
Of course not, dear.
It's your fault! He dumped me because he never sees me, and he never sees me because we're never in one place. If I lived in one place like Jillian...
But you said Sven's parents move around too.
Oh, now it all makes sense. That's why Sven broke up with me. Well, thank you very much, family. Thanks for wrecking my world. Thanks for ruining my teenage years.
Debbie storms into the convy, slamming the door and yelling that she doesn't want to talk to anybody right now. Her parents decide that giving her space is probably the best thing that they can do right now, so they head off to collect their shark cage. Meanwhile, Eliza and Darwin walk off towards the water as Eliza contemplates what, if anything, she can do to help Debbie.
I don't know what she said, but from the way she said it, I think I was safer with the dolphins.
Darwin, that's a great idea.
What's a great idea?
Getting Debbie to swim with the dolphins. It made you feel better, right?
But she's not a Jim. She's a Debbie.
Over at the docks, we see Marianne looking at the rickety shark cages that seem to be falling apart as she seems uneasy. She suggests to Nigel that maybe they should just forget about filming today and go home to spend some time with Debbie. However, he presses her a bit, asking if this is really about Debbie or if it's her fear of sharks. Nigel's completely puzzled, as she can handle lions and bears without a sweat, but sharks seem to be a big source of anxiety for her. Marianne admits that it's a bit of both, and we learn that all of this fear of sharks stems from a horror movie that she saw when she was young. It had a girl who looked just like her who went swimming in the ocean, and she was attacked by a shark. It ended up giving her nightmares for weeks, and still to this very day, sharks are her weak spot as a result. Nigel takes this as an excellent opportunity to stand up for the tiger sharks, saying that in general, sharks are misunderstood creatures. Not only was the shark in that movie a completely different breed than the one that they're filming, but on top of that, you're statistically more likely to be taken out by a falling coconut than to be attacked by a shark.
They don't want to attack us. They only bite us because that's their way of figuring out what we are. Or if they're hungry.
We'll take this one.
Oh, this is so lame. I don't swim with slimy fish. I don't even swim in pools. I tan. Hey!
Eliza realizes that getting Debbie to enjoy this is gonna be a lot harder than she thought it would be. So she asks Colin to swim over and do the same thing that he did for Darwin. Unfortunately though, Debbie just ends up being annoyed and wants to be left alone as she yells at the dolphin who keeps blocking her path. Finally, the dolphin decides to let up and it lets her swim off to be alone, but very quickly, he can tell that something is wrong as he swims off towards her in a hurry. He goes right up to Debbie and pushes her back towards Eliza.
Doesn't anyone understand? I want to be alone. But you weren't alone. Look underwater.
What for? Ugh, all right. That thing's huge!
The dolphin was probably trying to protect you.
I think you're right.
Pretty cool, huh?
I guess he's not so slimy.
The dolphin ends up winning Debbie over, and next thing you know, she's laughing and hanging onto his back while he swims her around. As the time passes, Debbie has a blast and forgets all about Sven. Eventually, we see her heading towards a boat rental hut, telling Eliza that the dolphins invited her to go out into the deep water with them.
I know it sounds weird, but we totally bonded.
Even so, how would you know what they were saying? I mean, it's not like, you can talk to animals or anything.
Not exactly, but I do get these incredible vibes from them.
And these vibes told you to rent a boat and follow them out to sea?
Go ahead, laugh it up, but I'm going.
Debbie tosses some money at the guy sleeping outside of the hut and takes the boat off towards the dolphins. As they pull off, we cut over to Nigel and Marianne, who are out in the ocean, having found the perfect spot to lure in some sharks. Nigel dumps some chum into the ocean, hoping the blood will bring all of the tiger sharks into the area towards them. Marianne clearly has a bad feeling about this, but regardless, they continue. From there, we see Debbie cruising with the wind in her hair, just having the time of her life as the dolphins swim behind them. They find a good spot to stop, and Debbie hops into the deep water with the dolphins. Eliza jumps in with her, and everybody else joins them. The two girls enjoy deep sea diving with the dolphins, while Donnie and Darwin enjoy themselves closer to the surface. Not too long into their fun though, Colin swims up to Eliza and frantically tells her that he can smell fish blood in the water and that it won't be long before there are sharks in the area. He tells her to get everybody in the boat as quickly as she can while he dives down to warn the others. Thankfully, Eliza is able to get Donnie in the boat with Darwin, however, Debbie is nowhere to be found.
Debbie!
Eliza! Come back!
As the tiger shark circles them, stalking from above, the girls begin to panic while they frantically attempt to free Debbie's leg. Finally, after moments of struggle, she's freed. However, not without taking a nasty cut from the coral reef. We see her blood mix with the water, and as the shark is taking in her scent, he starts to hone in on her. Eliza has to drag her to the boat as the shark is in hot pursuit. As that's happening, we then cut over to Nigel and Marianne, who are prepping to dive into the ocean with a massive tiger shark that they lured in. However, Nigel is shocked when the shark begins to swim away from them.
That's odd. A shark rarely passes up a chum line. Oh, unless he's on the scent of fresh meat. Shall we find out what he's after?
If we have to.
Nigel hoists the anchor and follows the shark until they come upon their own children in the water, being chased by a shark and struggling to get away. Debbie tries to swim as quickly as she can, but with only one flipper and a hurt foot, she's at a major disadvantage. Eliza sees their parents and screams for help, but they're too far away. She has to think on her feet.
Debbie, swim to us!
Hurry, Poppy, hurry!
She's not going to make it!
Into the cage, Debbie!
The cage goes flying down into the ocean, and it plunges just to the right depth for Debbie to make it to the door and slip inside right as the shark is biting at her. Safe and sound, her parents reel the cage in, bringing Debbie back to the surface. But when it reaches the top, the chain snaps, sending the cage and Debbie sinking right down to the ocean floor. Debbie holds her breath as the shark follows the cage down and begins to viciously slam against it in an attempt to get Debbie out. Eliza begins screaming for Colin, begging for his help. Meanwhile, Nigel is frantically looking for his oxygen tank so that he can go save Debbie.
No, I'll go! My tank's ready!
Oh, but Marianne!
There's no time! Go help Eliza!
Colin, please!
Eliza!
It's him! He hurt me! Colin, come back!
As Eliza keeps trying to start the boat's engine, we see Marianne diving to Debbie, facing the shark head on. It full-blown lunges at her with its jaws wide open, but she swiftly slips her oxygen tank off and bashes the shark in the face with it, causing it to run away in fear. While she's down there conquering her fear of sharks, up on the surface, the angry tiger shark takes a massive bite of the boat that Eliza is on. As it starts to drag them down, biting harder, we see Colin come full speed from the side and take the shark out, detaching it from the boat. Just like the other one did, the shark runs away in fear. As Nigel pulls up to rescue them, we dive back down to Marianne, who's trying to save Debbie. She gives her a few breaths from the oxygen tank, and Debbie kicks her way out of the shark cage so that they can swim back to the boat. Much to their dismay, however, the two tiger sharks are circling them from above, waiting to go in for the kill. As they approach, though, yet again, Colin shows up to save the day. Along with the rest of the dolphins, they fight off the tiger sharks and send them packing, still hungry and unfed.
Thanks, Mom.
Later that night, we see all of them gathered around the campfire as Eliza tells her end of the story to everyone. Nigel ends up commending Marianne and saying that she was the real hero for overcoming her fears, but she humbly dismisses the praise, saying that as soon as she saw Debbie in trouble, all of her fears went right out the window. Just then, Debbie asks for everyone's attention.
About before, I'm sorry I yelled at all of you, and it's not your fault Sven broke up with me. And I really am glad to be part of this family.
We're glad too. We're very glad.
And thanks for trying to cheer me up, Eliza. Even if I did almost get eaten by a shark.
Kept your mind off Sven for a while. Are you okay?
I'm fine.
Debbie turns around, saying that she's gonna go for a walk. Eliza offers to keep her company, but Debbie politely declines, deciding instead that she'd like to be alone. We see her walk towards the peaceful shore as the sun sets in the distance. When she gets there, we see none other than Colin pop out of the water to see her.
Okay, you're right. Maybe I'm not totally fine, but I'm getting there.
Now, this one is an excellent episode to round out the portion of this video that's focused solely on Debbie's struggles. This episode is a huge one in the context of just how much Debbie seems to have a hard time socially. It's kind of the big breaking point where we see any sense of a normal relationship that she had completely ripped away, feeling like there was never anything she could have done to stop it. Of course, when you're that age, the odds of finding a lifelong partner are extremely low. For Debbie, however, her odds would be far lower than anybody else, given her circumstances. I mean, long distance is hard enough as it is, but when your family is constantly moving and you never know where you're going to end up next, it makes things nearly impossible, especially as a teenager. Though it was completely valid, we have to admit how sad it is that Sven wanted to break up so that they can see people that they can actually have the chance to be with in real life, when, like, for Debbie, she can't really have that at all until she's an adult and can make her own decisions. Of course, Sven definitely has the right to pursue that, but her only option is to date boys online, which in and of itself is a massive dumpster fire. The dark truth here is that their lifestyle inhibits her from keeping any consistent relationship. Though most relationships at that age end for one reason or another, it's still worth pointing out that while nearly every other teenager in existence gets the opportunity to explore this side of themselves, Debbie doesn't even really know what that's like in a traditional sense. Most teenagers get to go to school and develop connections with people over time. But Debbie's life is a consistently revolving door of new faces and different people. Now, with that being said, it's okay for Debbie to feel negative about how their lifestyle affects her social life and, well, every other aspect of her life. However, her reaction to Sven breaking up with her was completely over the top. And her blaming her family and blowing up on them when all they were trying to do was help was absolutely not justified. Again, she can have these feelings toward them all day long, but what she does with those feelings is the big deal breaker. When she has these feelings about how their nomadic lifestyle doesn't allow her to be a normal teenager, she could choose to approach her parents in even a remotely level-headed manner, and it would likely be a much more productive conversation. But instead, she chooses to scream at everyone and pretty much go around ripping people's heads off. Ultimately, though, through everything, she realized in the end, and even admitted to everyone, that not only was Sven breaking up with her not their fault, but she actually likes being a part of this family. That right there is huge. Debbie spends so much time focusing on the negative and everything that she hates about her life. It's rare that we see her say that she actually likes being a part of this family, but this serves as our confirmation that she does see a positive side to living on the road with them. What's interesting about this is the fact that it ties directly into what I was saying earlier about how Debbie kind of blocks herself off from everybody else and how that affects her being the black sheep of the family. The huge thing that sparked all of this was her actually enjoying nature and animals for once in the context of her family. We saw her loving it when it was in the context of Mitzi and Merrick and their pursuit of danger. However, this was pure, organic love for animals, just like her parents and Eliza. In this episode, we finally saw her participating in family activities. Sure, it didn't happen by choice, and Eliza basically had to force her to do it and have Colin help, but ultimately, I feel like this would be a good thing for Debbie. I mean, by the end of it, she ended up closer to her family than ever before, as they all had a positive experience, which she thoroughly enjoyed, regardless of the danger that it caused. Heck, maybe that danger added to her enjoyment, considering how much we saw her craving it in the last episode. But the fact of the matter is, she became open-minded to the things that bring the rest of the family joy, and ultimately things got better, albeit slightly, and her outlook on life seemed to have gotten a bit brighter. By all means, it's completely fair for her to wish that they would take more interest in her likes and wants, but it's undeniable that when she tries to have a positive outlook, she ends up being overall happier, closer to her family, and having a lot more appreciation for them. That's what's wild about Debbie as a character. Nothing about analyzing her is black and white. It's not as simple as defending her actions because she has a messed up life, because some actions are just plain wrong and can't be defended. However, it definitely needs to be acknowledged that in a lot of ways, the deck has been stacked against her from the start, and if a lot of us were in her shoes, I'm sure we would all be overwhelmed and have outbursts as well. It feels like, in a lot of ways, Debbie carries a ton of resentment for her family. She's out here living a life that she never wanted, and for all of them, happiness just comes naturally. They love what they do and getting to live the life that they live. However, she genuinely has to jump through hoops to experience anywhere close to that level of joy. It doesn't come as easily for her as it does for them. When we take that into account, combined with the loneliness, the lack of space, and that desire for a sense of normalcy that we brought up earlier, it muddies the waters even more in my opinion. It makes moments like these feel excellent because, for once, we're finally seeing Debbie admit that her family isn't all bad, that she likes being a part of it, and, well, not being the black sheep for once. However, that doesn't negate the fact that still, this is one good day among 364 other pretty terrible ones for her. By now, it's evident that Debbie's life on the road has taken a massive toll on her. Socially, emotionally, and of course, romantically. However, what happens when she finally gets fed up and decides that enough is enough? The next episode we're going to check out takes things in a whole new direction, as we would see Debbie deciding that it's time to escape this life entirely. And as the dominoes fall, her frustrations with Eliza reach a disastrous breaking point. We're checking out the Season 2 episode, Pack of Thornberries. This episode starts out just north of the United States in southern Canada. As the moon lights their path above, Marianne cruises the Convy through the night. Nigel points out that she's been driving since they left the Arctic, implying that maybe she needs a break, but Marianne insists that they continue, saying that they need to get to Yellowstone National Park by tomorrow if they're going to finish the show about wolves that they're working on.
In that case, I shall keep you awake with strong coffee and amusing automobile games.
Ooh, I love those.
I slid down the glacier with Darwin and 2 polar bears swam by.
Excuse me, Miss I Can Read Now. Will you stop doing that?
The little cubs climbed onto the ice.
I can still hear you! Good night!
Eliza continues to chuckle and work on her story as Debbie gets frustrated, saying that good night means lights out. She throws her blankets off and storms over, turning off Eliza's lamp. However, Eliza just turns it back on as the sisters end up in a standoff. Debbie walks over and grabs her pillow, and Eliza gets hers also as they commence a brutal pillow fight. Up above, their parents finally make it to the border, passing into the United States, and Nigel decides to radio the girls to tell them. However, all he hears in response is the sound of them fighting.
as tradition dictates, let's have a Thornberry cheer as we cross yet another country's border. We're now in the United States of America. Hip, hip.
The next day, we see the family having arrived in Wyoming as Debbie and Eliza are completely ignoring each other. Nigel tries to get them to patch things up, pointing out that they didn't say a word to each other throughout the entire state of Montana. Unfortunately, they refuse to bury the hatchet as each of them blames the other for starting their fight. Just then, Marianne walks out of a nearby building with a bunch of mail that's been waiting for the family.
Finally! We haven't had mail in a month. Don't think you're getting your grubby little mitts on until I go through it.
Who cares?
Oh, youth. Constantly challenging their territory.
They remind me of my wolves. I'm Sam Rainwater.
You have your own wolves?
Well, they don't belong to me. I work for the Wolf Restoration Program, tracking the progress of a pack brought here from Canada.
Marianne says that Sam never got their written request to film in Yellowstone, so unfortunately they won't be able to film the wolves. Nigel thinks back as he recalls going to the post office with the letter in his jacket pocket, until he got distracted by the cry of a rare bird. And, well, somewhere along the lines, the letter ended up staying in Nigel's jacket pocket. As they settle for just filming nature instead of the wolves, we pan over to Eliza, who's hanging out with Darwin and admiring the beauty of the pack of wolves as they run. Later on, we see the Comvy parked at a place that the family sees very seldomly, a campsite filled with tourists. Eliza steps off the Comvy with her arms full, saying that she's going to be sleeping in the tent tonight so that she can get away from Debbie.
Nice move, klutz.
Debbie, what did Grandma Sophie have to say in her letter?
The usual. She thinks I'm leading an uncivilized life in the jungle and my only hope is going to a boarding school.
Oh, not that again. Oh, will my mother never quit?
Guess not. Check out this brochure she sent.
Miss Wentworth's School for Girls?
Debbie takes the brochure back, saying that her mom doesn't need to worry because she's told her grandma 50 times now she's not going to a dumb boarding school. However, Eliza chimes in uninvited, saying that Debbie couldn't even get into that boarding school if she wanted to.
What?
Girls, remember, this is a geothermically active area. No need to add to the eruptions.
Inside of Eliza's tent, Darwin is talking to her about how terrified he is about her wanting to meet these wolves, citing the 3 little pigs and Little Red Riding Hood as his sources of fear. But as Eliza is trying to explain that no one's ever actually been killed by a wolf in North America, she notices that her pillow is strangely missing. She goes inside the Comvy to get it, and she's shocked when she finds it on Debbie's bed. Eliza storms up to Debbie with a scream, accusing her of touching her pillow, but Debbie says that it was probably Donnie who moved it.
Oh, isn't that convenient? Blame Donnie for everything.
You're right. It could have been the monkey.
You think you can get away with stuff just because you're older, but you can't.
I do not. And who's gonna stop me?
Girls, let's talk this out intelligently.
Mom, you're assuming Debbie can carry on an intelligent conversation.
Grandma's right. My only hope for sanity is going away to school. I'm going to email my transcript to this Miss Wentworth place right now.
Okay guys, really quick, I know this is completely irrelevant to the point of this video, but I just can't let this slide. Did anyone else notice in this scene how Debbie is supposed to be static, standing in the same spot, but instead she's very slightly sliding to the right towards the door of the Comvy? I'm not sure if that was a mistake or just a clever little editing trick for them to bridge Debbie standing there, transitioning to her facing the Comvy and walking into it. Maybe thinking we wouldn't notice them doing that, but either way, I felt like I was tripping out for a second and I just had to tell you guys. From there, we fast forward an unknown amount of time where we see Marianne and Nigel talking near a helicopter. We learn that Marianne is flying with Debbie to the boarding school so that she can interview, and he's questioning if this is really the right choice as it's going to potentially break up their family. However, at the sight of just how unhappy they all are, Marianne says that this is what Debbie really wants, and it wouldn't be right for them to stop her.
Mom, you really don't have to come with me.
Debbie, I'm not letting you do this alone.
How embarrassing.
Yeah, for Mom. There's no way that school's gonna let you in. You have to have brains, remember?
At least I have manners.
Huh, that'll be the day.
Girls, please. This is a very emotional day for us all.
The two girls exchange their last words between them, and at the end, Debbie gets the last laugh. As the helicopter flies away, Eliza explodes in anger, screaming at her to never come back, while a geyser erupts behind her, leaving the ground shaking. Early the next morning, we see Nigel walking with Donnie when Sam approaches in his truck. He tells them that he's gonna go check on a neighboring pack of wolves, and he invites them to tag along. Nigel asks Eliza if maybe she'd like to join. However, she says that she's going to head back to camp. He assumes it's because she's already missing Debbie. However, after him, Sam, and Donnie drive off, we learn that it's actually because she's hoping to meet the pack of wolves that lives in this area. We see her looking through some binoculars as she tries to spot them, while Darwin voices his fears over meeting them.
Wolves are scary, and that's all there is to it.
No, they're not. They're misunderstood. Now, Debbie, that's scary. There they are!
It's okay. I'm not a pig or a girl in a red coat. I'm a rare and unusual chimpanzee. Probably a wolf delicacy.
The wolves approach, and of course, they're surprised when Eliza speaks to them. Eliza learns that they're actually very close to the wolves' den, and they're causing them some fear for their pups. She's quick to naturally disarm them, though, with her friendly nature towards them, and before you know it, all of the pups are out of the den and playing. She ends up meeting one of the older pups, Motto, as he says he's going to show them around the grounds. Just like that, we cut over to the boarding school where Miss Wentworth is showing Debbie and Marianne around the grounds. She stresses that they normally don't interview people on such short notice. However, her transcripts were very impressive. Debbie, though, is only halfway paying attention, as she is just so enthralled with how many teenagers there are here.
Debbie has been homeschooled along with her sister.
Oh, yes. You travel in your work.
We certainly do. Debbie has been to every continent at least twice, including Antarctica.
A globe-hopping lifestyle doesn't utterly mesh with the Miss Wentworth philosophy.
Which is?
A wandering vine cannot blossom like a hothouse orchid.
Debbie immediately starts saying that's her philosophy too. However, Miss Wentworth more or less accuses her of being an apple polisher before condescendingly telling her that her interview is soon and she needs to change into something that's clean and pressed. Of course, Marianne is defensive over how stuck up this lady is about their lifestyle, but Debbie holds her back. Her mom questions if going to this school is really what she wants.
Are you kidding? This is my dream. No more weird food from places I can't pronounce. No more creepy bugs. And best of all, no one under 14 allowed.
Well, if that's what you want.
Mom, I don't want to be a wandering vine anymore. I want to be a hot orchard.
Back at Yellowstone, Eliza is enjoying her tour from Motto. As they both sit by the water, they quickly realize that they have a lot in common. Specifically a frustration with being a part of their pack and not having the ability to do whatever they want whenever they want, as well as having to be mindful of what their siblings want. Motto suggests that he could just go off on his own and hunt for himself, and Eliza more or less encourages the idea, telling him that it's excellent. As the sun begins to set, she tells him that she needs to go back to camp for a fire, but the two make plans to meet back here when it's dark outside. Over at the campsite, Eliza, Darwin, and Donnie are sitting around the fire while Nigel is talking with Marianne and Debbie on the radio about her interview and how well everything is going over there.
Hey, Dad, tell Eliza she can have our room. I won't be needing it anymore. Over and out.
Well, that sounds promising.
It sure does. Yes!
Just then, Sam pulls up in his truck with some bad news. He says that he got a report from a rancher who said one of his sheep was killed. He got a glimpse at the wolf that did it, and the description matches exactly that of Motto, which just so happens to be Sam's favorite wolf. Sadly, he says that if he gets proof that he did do it, Motto will need to be put down.
Do you have to destroy the wolf, old chum?
Only if I find concrete proof of the sheep kill. It's how we keep the peace around here between the ranchers and the park. I'm heading out to track him.
Could you use some help?
That would be great.
Poppet, I'm going to go with Sam and help sort this out. Stay here with Donnie.
Let's go, Darwin.
Eliza, Darwin, and Donnie go right to the wolf's den and ask if Motto is there, and his parents say that he hasn't been back there since he last left with Eliza earlier that day. She explains to them that he may have gone to a ranch and killed a sheep. Of course, this causes massive concern as his father stresses that a wolf who takes a sheep will be killed by man, and his mom questions why Motto didn't just come home to eat if he was hungry.
It's my fault. I told him he should go out on his own.
Wolves belong together. Would you tell that to someone in your pack?
Actually, I did. See, my sister is going away to this school because of me.
Speaking of the school, we cut to Debbie waiting to be called in for her interview as another girl walks out of the office crying, having been rejected right there on the spot. They call Debbie in, and she sits down in the hot seat to be grilled by the panel. However, she doesn't seem all too stressed. Right out the gate, Miss Wentworth points out to the other members that Debbie lives outdoors, and you can tell immediately that they're looking down upon her. They ask her to convince them that she's Miss Wentworth school material, and, well, it doesn't go all too great.
I need to get away from my annoying sister. You have no idea. My sister, she just can't get enough of animals. She actually picks bugs off of gorillas. Okay, so grooming is how gorillas establish social bonds within the family groups. Do I have to watch it?
You certainly know your animal kingdom.
I only live with 2 animals, if you count Borneo Boy, which, by the way, is a country that really needs to deal with the whole deforestation issue or say goodbye to orangutans. This isn't real ivory, is it? Because that's like so uncool, not to mention illegal since the ivory trade ban in 1990.
Back over at Yellowstone, Eliza and Darwin find Motto drinking from the lake with blood dripping from his chin. They confront him, asking if he killed the sheep, but he says that he didn't. He tells them that he squeezed through a sharp fence and tried to get some food, but a man chased him away. He actually hasn't eaten all day because gathering food on his own proved to be a lot more difficult than he thought it was. She helps wash the blood off of his chin as she admits to him that she was wrong and that he belongs with his pack. At that, they hear all of his fellow wolves crying off in the distance for him, and he decides to go back to them, thanking her for teaching him an important lesson.
Oh, a happy ending. Now let's get back to those hot dogs. I'm hungry.
Me too.
Me too.
And Donnie's storybooks are always cute and cuddly little things.
Back at the convy, Marianne and Debbie are arriving by helicopter to a letter from Nigel saying that he went off with Sam to track a wolf. Debbie excitedly says that they need to go find them so that she can see the look on Eliza's face when she hears that she was accepted into Miss Wentworth's school.
Oh, Debbie, it'll be so hard to have you away at school. You'll miss everything, celebrating Boxing Day with Grandpapa and Nana Thornberry, Eliza getting her braces off, Donnie's first word.
As that's happening, we cut over to Eliza, who's trying to protect Donnie from the bear who wants to eat him thanks to the marshmallow stuck in his hair from him eating marshmallows around the fire. She ends up tripping over a tree root, and while she's on the ground with the bear looming above her, we cut back over to Sam and Nigel, who are rolling around in Sam's truck. Thankfully, they got word on the radio that the rancher found his sheep, and the wolf didn't kill it after all, and as luck would have it, they end up being at the right place at the right time to find the grizzly bear trying to attack Eliza.
Eliza! Can't I leave for one day without you getting into trouble?
The bear's hungry! It's not my fault!
The bear stands there contemplating if he should fight the wolves or run, but ultimately he turns around and decides to walk away while all of the wolves stand triumphant. With the bear scared off, the wolves run away and Motto looks back at Eliza to give her a smile and thanks.
Don't keep us in suspense. Deborah, were you accepted?
Yes.
But you can't go, Debbie. What will we do without you? Family should stay together.
For your information, I have decided not to go.
Thank heavens.
Oh, Debbie.
Yeah, well, you're my family, like it or not.
So, afraid you'd miss me,
Oh, yeah. That's it.
Just like that, as everybody loads into the minicom to go back to their campsite, Eliza looks up to see the pack of wolves united again, and Motto gives us a big howl, bringing the episode to an end. Okay, so this episode was a huge one, especially in the context of everything we've already gone over. It's no secret that this family has its issues, and this episode put all of them on full display in an extreme way. This episode took all of those issues and compounded them to such a level that the result would be Debbie getting fed up and finally trying to escape due to her clashes with Eliza. This right here was Debbie being so frustrated with her life and the way that she's been treated that she decides to actively try to leave and build a normal life for herself. The fact of the matter here is that there are way too many issues compounding into one massive tipping point that caused everything to boil over. First of all, this one is another shining example of Eliza starting the fight, her refusal to take accountability for her actions, and her main character syndrome. Putting it into perspective, from the beginning, these two girls, who again lack their own personal space, one huge issue in and of itself, are just trying to enjoy some quiet time before bed. Debbie's trying to read and Eliza is trying to work on a story that she seems to be writing. However, Eliza keeps verbalizing while she works, which is distracting Debbie and frustrating her because she can't focus on her reading. Sure, her reaction was very rude and over the top, but on the other side of the coin, Eliza is coming across as that person in the library who keeps being very noisy while people are trying to focus and enjoying the peace and quiet. Then, when someone calls her on it, asking her to be quiet, she stands her ground like she isn't the one in the wrong. What makes it a little difficult to dissect, though, is it's a matter of it being as simple as if these girls had their own bedrooms and their own space in an actual house, this wouldn't be a problem. Eliza could make as much noise as she wanted in her room, while Debbie could have silence in her room. Sure, a tiny bit of sound might bleed through the walls, but it's better than having that person 2 feet away from you crammed into an RV. Overall, a ton of Eliza's actions display a general disregard for anyone else around her and a lack of courtesy. I mean, it isn't specified, but this is likely their quiet time before bed, so it's kind of understandable for Debbie to be annoyed by Eliza's random talking. However, what is specified is that when one of them says goodnight, that means lights out. That seems to be a rule that they both agreed to set in place. Eliza decides to disregard Debbie's goodnight though, yet again putting herself and what she wants first. Not having to deal with Debbie turning her light off is one of the things that she even brought up to Motto when Eliza was talking to him about how great it would be to live on your own as a lone wolf. Honestly, it just kind of gets old seeing how Eliza is like this consistently. Specifically, that situation with Motto drives me nuts because it was completely centered around being frustrated with being part of your pack, or in Eliza's case, your family, and glorifying the idea of being a lone wolf. When, Eliza loves this lifestyle. She loves being a part of her family. The entire intro to this show is literally her gushing about how much she loves her life on the road with her family before every single episode. It almost seems a little bit hypocritical for Eliza to take this stance and feel this way when, again, she likes this lifestyle. We haven't seen the lack of space ever be anywhere as big of an issue for her as it is for Debbie. The only problem Eliza seems to have with it is the fact that she has to be courteous towards others, which she often lacks the ability to do. On top of that, though, it's absolutely insane how when anything happens between Debbie and Eliza, it was always, girls, you two need to stop. Like 100% of the time, their parents place the blame on both of them and hold them both accountable, even though, again, more often than not, Eliza is the instigator. It feels like 9 times out of 10, Eliza is mean to Debbie, and Debbie retaliates because she's fed up with it. Then both of them get scolded, even though Eliza should likely get a talking to about not being an instigator. By all means, there are times where Debbie is a jerk for no reason. There are times when she says out-of-pocket mean stuff just because. Of course, it's not always Eliza, but with that being said, it's still frustrating that Eliza seems to be able to poke the bear whenever she wants, and regardless of the outcome, she's still getting Debbie in trouble. Looking at this episode in more of a positive light, though, it did show us a few huge things about Debbie. One of the biggest and most important things that it showed us is that she's actually really intelligent. I mean, sure, she wasn't able to answer the questions they asked her directly, but in her very scattered response, she more than proved to them that she is intelligent enough to go to their school. She brought up not only social issues, but she was also able to identify potentially illegal ivory when she saw it. That right there does bring up some concern, though. Was them accepting her into the school really a direct result of her scattered intelligence that she was able to put on display? Or was it about the fact that she caught them potentially with something illegal? It's kind of hard to say, because in all reality, someone like Debbie would be a great asset to any school in my opinion. She's the kind of person who I can totally see growing up to be a successful artist or something like that, and well, the random intelligence is just the icing on the cake as far as making yourself look good on a transcript goes. In the end though, it says the most about her that she chose not to go. Eliza never even apologized to her for how she treated her. She just gave some mini speech about how families should stick together and left it at that. I'll totally admit that it would have been a lot more satisfying to get a moment between the two where they actually buried the hatchet and exchanged some apologies for everything that was said, but I guess this is good enough. I do have to say, this one gave me a lot more appreciation for Debbie though. This one served as the tipping point to just how capable Debbie really is. And that right there is an aspect of her character that we're going to see grow exponentially by the end of this video. This episode by all means was refreshing, considering that we would see Debbie in a capable light and taking matters into her own hands. But what happens when she finds herself in a situation where she isn't in control? A situation where, though she doesn't even know it, she needs Eliza more than ever. This next episode flips the dynamic entirely, forcing Debbie into a moment of vulnerability that she never expected. We're looking at the Season 1 episode, Only Child. This episode starts out in Brazil along the Amazon River as we see the convoy pull up and everyone excitedly hops out, except for Debbie. We learn that they're here in the rainforest among the millions of bugs for Nigel to find the ingredient he needs to perfect his insect repellent that he's making. While Nigel begins his hunt for the ingredient, Eliza and Darwin are over on a little dock checking out the river. We see Eliza stick her head in with some goggles and nearly get torn to bits by some piranhas. Thankfully, Darwin pulls her out at the last second, and we cut back over to the camp where Debbie is just miserable and bored. Marianne suggests that maybe she goes to hang out with Eliza, but that just sounds awful to Debbie.
Smashing news! I found jambu leaves. They're the missing ingredient in my insect repellent.
Jambu leaves, really? Well, I need those for the stew I'm making tonight.
Johnny, give me back my juice!
Juice? What juice?
That's not juice. It's my masterwork.
Oh, that's your bug repellent.
Donnie downs the entire cup of bug repellent, and his burp afterward is enough to kill all of the flies buzzing around his head. Back over at the river, Eliza is feeling frustrated that Darwin won't let her talk to a piranha, but her frustration quickly dissolves when she catches sight of a freshwater dolphin in the river, excitedly jumping out of the water. She attempts to talk to the dolphin, but it seems to ignore her, instead swimming away. She tries to chase it, but along the way, she almost steps on a crocodile's head, and yet again, Darwin has to save her. Back over at the campsite, we see Debbie sitting at the table, just looking miserable as she picks up a pastry and Donnie stares at it like it's the holy grail of pastries.
Get your own pastry. In fact, get your own life. 'Cause mine's too thrilling for the both of us. Hi, I'm Zhao. Hey, cool shoes.
Back over at the dock, Eliza sits sad about the fact that the dolphin disappeared. She wants to stay around just in case it comes back. However, Darwin says that he's starving and that he wants to go back to camp for some breakfast. Eliza agrees to just one pastry, then they come right back. And just like that, we cut back over to the campsite where Debbie is sitting with her new friend.
Great shells. Did you dive for these?
You don't have to. They wash up on shore.
Eliza, this is Zhao. She's from here, meaning she knows more than you do. My kid sister, Eliza.
I wish I had a sister.
Want mine?
Just then, Eliza and Debbie's parents walk up and she introduces them to her new friend, Zhao. She says that they're gonna go explore, and as the two walk off, Eliza and Darwin head back out onto the dock. She begins to untie a boat that's tied to the dock as a man approaches in another boat. He asks her what she's doing, and when she says that she was just borrowing it, he warns her that she shouldn't be going out into the river.
There are things out there that cannot be explained, terrible things. Do you know about the botu?
Sort of. Maybe you better remind me.
You call them dolphin.
That's what I want to find. A dolphin.
No. Tonight there will be a full moon. This is the day when the botu leaves the river and walks among us.
The man warns Eliza that the dolphin will take the form of a beautiful young woman, but before he can elaborate any further on what happens next, Nigel and Marianne approach with Donnie. We learn that this guy is actually here to take them to the village, as Marianne asks Eliza to watch Donnie while they're away. The fisherman ties the boat that Eliza was trying to take to his own boat so that she can't use it, and just like that, we cut back over to Debbie with her new friend as they're doing some bird watching.
Isn't it wild?
It's cool. So, Zhao, what do you and your friends do around here?
Friends?
In the village. Don't you have friends in the village?
Oh, no. I move around. I mean, we do, my family. When the rains come, we're always someplace different.
Really? Hey, me too.
Over at the riverbed, we see Eliza with Donnie and Darwin as she calls for the dolphin, actually hoping to see a dolphin that can transform into a human. Darwin essentially calls BS, saying that it's completely impossible. That is, until they come upon some footprints coming out of the river and onto the shore. As they follow them, they see that they lead right over to their camp, and just then, Eliza begins connecting dots.
The only person I've seen all morning is Debbie's friend. Zhao.
Eliza races over to the campground, wanting to talk with Zhao, but Darwin warns her, saying that the fisherman seemed scared, and he said that she shouldn't even talk to the dolphin if it comes on land. However, when Eliza starts to come to that realization, Zhao comes out of nowhere, startling them. Eliza asks her where Debbie is, and she says that she's over in the RV. Eliza then grabs Darwin by the hand, and they run inside to warn Debbie about what the guy by the river told them.
Your friend Zhao? She's a dolphin.
Zhao's a dolphin.
I know it's weird, but an old fisherman told me how dolphins get legs and then turn into teenagers.
Teenagers, really?
Well, he said young women, but anyway, they come out right before the full moon, which is tonight, and there were footprints by the river leading up to here.
And you think these footprints are Zhao's?
Yes, but the fisherman said beware the dolphin, so we have to be very careful.
Debbie starts to laugh at her sister and mock her for being afraid of dolphins and Zhao. Eliza storms off angrily, and she starts to plot a way to prove that Zhao is actually a dolphin. She decides to go talk to some of the local animals about it, starting with the crocodile who she almost stepped on earlier. She asks them if they're familiar with the dolphin that she saw, and if it transformed into a human. The crocodiles all but say that they've seen it firsthand themselves. They explain that the dolphins think that they're better than everyone else, and as a result, they kind of stay away from the other creatures. They even explain how every once in a while, the dolphins tend to disappear for an entire day at a time. That right there has Eliza completely sold on the fact that Zhao has to be the dolphin. Later that day, we see her hiding in the bushes when her parents arrive back at the camp from shopping in the village. As they walk towards the convey, Donnie distracts them while Eliza goes back to talk to the fisherman some more.
If I happen to see a dolphin who I thought turned into a girl, how would I know?
There are ways you can tell. She will eat only fish. And it is said she wears a hat to cover her dolphin's blowhole.
That's it? But I eat fish and you're wearing a hat. Isn't there a real way to tell?
Yes, but you would have to know her thoughts. You would have to speak to the dolphin inside her.
You're right.
But you didn't see such a girl, did you?
Oh, no.
He warns her that if she does see a girl like that, she should tell him. She completely lies to him though, saying that she will if she does, feeling confident that she'll be able to handle this on her own. Eliza tries a few different tricks, such as speaking dolphin or trying to lure her in with a fish, but it all just results in Zhao and Debbie laughing at her. Her final test, though, is trying to get the hat off of her head to expose her blowhole.
So, can you stay for dinner?
Sure. Find your dolphin yet?
Yes.
Back off. I mean it.
Was she? Oh, I don't know. Mad?
Zhao's a dolphin, Darwin. I know it.
Later on, we see the family sitting at dinner while Marianne is serving a traditional Amazonian stew made with wild duck. Immediately, Eliza challenges Zhao, saying that she bets she won't even eat it, and at that, Nigel says she's probably right, as he offers up an alternative meal, one of his favorite delicacies from England, a fresh plate of kippers. Zhao picks one up and downs the entire thing whole before devouring the entire plate within seconds.
That's it! You're not human!
Eliza!
I'll show you! She has a blowhole under her hat!
Mom, may I be excused?
Girls, what's going on?
The kippers proved it! Zhao is a dolphin!
Mom, may I please be excused?
Watch this!
Maybe I should go.
That's what I said! That's exactly what I said! I told her to go in dolphin, and she understood me!
Debbie starts apologizing up and down to Zhao on behalf of Eliza's behavior, and Marianne demands that Eliza go in the convey. Inside, we see Marianne telling her that the way she's treating Debbie and her new friend is completely unacceptable. Marianne chalks it up to them only having each other to be friends with since there are no other kids around. She then starts talking about how it might be better for them to move back home, but at that, Eliza tells her that she got mad at nothing and that this was just a phase.
Honey, you were squeaking like a dolphin.
Oh, that was just a joke. I was kidding.
So you're not mad at Debbie?
No, Deb. I could never be mad at Deb.
Then you'll apologize.
Apologize? Why? She's the one who won't believe me.
Eliza, I want you to stay in here and think about this for a while.
Eliza decides to climb out of the convey window with Darwin and run to some nearby huts to hopefully find the fisherman. When she does, she tells him all about how she couldn't directly prove it, but she's sure that this girl is the dolphin. However, when Eliza brings up Debbie to him, he starts to panic, saying that Debbie is in grave danger. He says that the dolphin takes a friend to the river and turns them into a dolphin as well so that they don't have to be lonely anymore.
She's going to take Debbie!
sorry you got stuck in the rain.
Oh, I don't mind. I wanted to say goodbye. It must be nice to live here.
Back at the camp, the rain starts to pour harder and Eliza arrives in a hurry asking where Debbie is. Her mom says that her and Zhao are off doing something together, and just like that, Eliza runs off in a panic, saying that her mom was right and that she needs to apologize to Debbie. Eliza makes it to the dock as quickly as she can, but as the rain continues to pour and pour, it begins to flood, and we see the flower that Debbie had in her hair floating in the river. Eliza starts yelling and pleading with Zhao, saying that she's glad she has a sister and that she really doesn't want to lose her, but as the water rises, her mom calls her back to the convy. She runs onto it as they switch it to river raft mode. Eliza climbs down and reaches out, telling Debbie to grab her hand. The two are able to work together thanks to the help of the dolphin, and Eliza pulls her sister to safety. She asks her what happened, and Debbie says that she was saying goodbye to Zhao when she slipped off of the dock. Luckily though, the dolphin was there to rescue her.
Oh, Debbie. I was so afraid you were going to turn into a dolphin.
Is this going to be like an obsession with you for the rest of my life?
No, it's just that I... Thank you.
Hey, look! There's another one.
Oh, good. She's got a friend.
Or a sister.
So this episode is one that I really appreciate for a multitude of reasons. Before I get into that though, it's worth pointing out that this is yet again another one that shows Debbie's desperation to make friends and have anything close to a social life. However, in portraying that, this one would kind of take a dark turn. Now, I'll break this down further, but let's say Zhao really was a dolphin and that she wanted to take Debbie. This right here would be a portrayal of someone who had severely negative intentions, easily weaseling their way close to Debbie and her falling right into their trap. It's kind of messed up when you look at it like that because for once, finally, making friends with someone comes naturally for Debbie. Or so it would seem. This girl just straight up approached her and it was like an instant friendship. Little did Debbie know though, this girl could very well have been a mystical dolphin in disguise who wanted to take her away. That's another thing that adds a whole different layer to the complex relationship between Debbie and her sister. I mean, this one added the twist of Debbie genuinely needing Eliza to save her in this one, yet she didn't even realize it. As a matter of fact, she refused to believe that Eliza even had a credible reason to believe that anything could be off about Zhao. It's kind of crazy though, because we as viewers are left questioning whether or not Zhao was a dolphin who was trying to lure Debbie in. First and foremost, we have to consider the fact that Eliza is a kid who has a very overactive imagination. By all means, this fisherman could have just been messing with her because she tried to take his other boat, and well, she just kinda ran with it. With that being said though, it needs to be recognized that magic does exist in this show. I mean, Eliza straight up was given the ability to talk to animals by a shaman, so a shape-shifting dolphin isn't necessarily out of the question as far as the lore of this show goes. As much as all of this could have been an elaborate joke that just lined up really well, it also could have been the truth. I mean, that fisherman really did seem pretty genuinely concerned about Eliza and Debbie's well-being. On top of that though, there were a lot of really weird coincidences that lined up a little too well. There were the footprints that led to the campsite right after Zhao had shown up. Speaking of which, she showed up just mere moments after Eliza had seen the dolphin. Now, while that could just be some convenient timing, what about Zhao eating all of those fish so voraciously? Or the fact that we never did get to see under her hat? Plus, Eliza hopped on the table and spoke dolphin, and somehow Zhao was able to repeat exactly what Eliza had said. When we take that into consideration, plus all of the odd blinks and smiles that Zhao had given Eliza, it almost seemed like she was teasing her, much like a playful dolphin would. Another weird thing that I just have to point out, though, that's kind of not related, is the fact that Eliza just hopped up and made dolphin noises, telling everyone that she said something specific in dolphin. It's kind of confusing because we all know Eliza isn't supposed to spill the beans on her secret gift, and, well, telling everyone you speak dolphin kind of does exactly that. But regardless, there is a lot here that is stacked against Zhao, and it really could support her being a dolphin. I mean, it was odd how she spoke of her family and how they move around a lot as well. She just seemed not so casual about it and like she was trying kind of hard to sound normal. What's really odd to me, though, is thinking under the assumption that Zhao was a dolphin, the fact that Debbie wasn't turned into one as well. Of course, that could be because none of this was true and it isn't possible for a human to turn into a dolphin in this show's universe. However, it could also be because Zhao decided to spare Debbie when she heard Eliza's begging. It is morbid to consider, though, that in the end, we did see more than one dolphin. This could mean a few things. Maybe there was more than one all along and we're just now seeing the other one. Or maybe someone else got lured in to become a dolphin instead. It could be that the magic only allows one person to be converted into a dolphin per full moon, and possibly that's why Debbie was spared and got to remain a human. It is really intriguing to me, though, also because it isn't an every episode occurrence that this show deals with magical happenings outside of Eliza's gift. By all means, there were instances of magic scattered throughout random episodes, including some we're about to check out. But what's odd to me is when magic does get brought into things, it usually isn't as black and white as Eliza getting her powers was. We know it was magic that led to Eliza being able to talk to animals, but outside of that, a lot of times they leave us guessing if magic is the explanation behind some of the things happening, or if things just might not be as they seem. With that being said, though, just because it isn't clearly outlined doesn't mean it isn't possible. One thing in this episode that honestly drove me kind of nuts, though, would be Eliza's approach to all of this. I mean, this girl was hostile right out of the gate. Like, even down to the point where they were all sitting at the table for dinner, she could have simply asked Zhao to remove her hat when she was accusing her openly of being a dolphin. Instead, though, she decides to jump up on the table and start shouting at her in dolphin in front of everyone. This is another one of those things where I feel like Eliza just doesn't think things through sometimes. She decides to go balls to the wall with whatever crazy scheme she comes up with right there in the moment, and as a result, she usually makes herself look pretty bad in the process. On a bit of a more positive note, though, it does make me happy to see Debbie having made a friend in this episode. I mean, sure, she got along with Merrick and Mitzi, who we met a few episodes ago, but they were just kind of older people that she idolized, not necessarily friends. Regardless of whether she was a dolphin or not, though, Zhao clearly had a positive impact on Debbie, considering how much she enjoyed their time together. That is one thing that in hindsight, I wished had happened in the last episode. It would have been super cool for them to explore the social side of Debbie arriving at that school and maybe getting along with the other kids. Her choosing not to pursue a life at that school would have hit so much harder if she was also giving up a bunch of people who thought she was super cool on top of a semi-normal lifestyle and an education at a fancy boarding school. With that being said, though, this episode, as good as it felt, was just scratching the surface of Debbie flexing her social skills. The next episode we're going to check out not only showcases her thriving socially in an environment that we've never seen her thrive in before, but it also kind of reverses the typical roles that we're used to seeing between Debbie and Eliza. Before we get into it though, I want to take just a moment to talk to you guys about something really important to me. I feel like usually this is where most YouTubers would put in an ad read from a sponsor or something like that, but if you're new here, I don't deal in sponsorships. The only time I ever did, it made me feel icky, and I didn't even make a penny off of this greedy company who got a lot of views from my content. However, I'd love just a second to talk to you guys about something that I'm really passionate about. This next episode is an excellent one, and I'm stoked to dive into it, but it almost wasn't possible. I went looking for this episode on Paramount Plus to use it as a reference for writing this script like I usually do. However, this episode isn't even on Paramount Plus for some reason. Thankfully though, I own the entire series of the Wild Thornberrys on DVD. I found it for a fantastic price a few months back and I bought it on a whim. Little did I know, this set of discs would absolutely come in clutch because this episode we're about to check out, you can't even really find on any streaming services. And with that being said, I cannot stress the importance of physical media enough. Streaming is cool, and I use pretty much all of the major streaming services, but for me personally, owning all of my favorite shows on a physical disc that I can watch whenever I choose, even if I don't have internet, is a really important thing to have access to. As a matter of fact, the other day I went to sit down and enjoy some old school Looney Tunes in my spare time. I've been watching a bunch of it on Max over the last few weeks, but all of a sudden, every single episode of Looney Tunes was wiped from their platform, along with some Scooby-Doo movies and some other titles that are important to a lot of us. It was a huge bummer, but to me, that was a sign. That, combined with literally only being able to find this next episode on DVD, just made me feel like it was important to share the importance of physical media with you guys. They can't take that away from us. All of your favorite older movies, shows, and video games, it's important to own an actual copy of them because you never know when they could just disappear from any digital storefront. Furthermore, and more importantly, in a day and age where Spotify and Apple Music are paying their artists literal pennies, buying actual CDs and records from a band can make a world of difference. Buy directly from them at their merch store online or at a concert if you can. Heck, even grab a shirt while you're at it if you're able to. With that being said, I'll get off of my soapbox. I'm not sponsored by any physical media company or literally anybody. I'm just a guy who's really passionate about collecting things. I think preservation is super important. And I see a lot of value in A, making sure your money spent on art goes to that direct artist, and B, if it can't, i.e. in the case of DVDs of a show, I mean, come on, that's just protecting yourself. It's a no-brainer. Also, on that note, sorry if the audio and video quality is different from the rest of this video. With that out of the way though, we are looking at the Season 2 episode, The Kung and I. This episode starts out in Botswana, specifically the Kalahari Desert. We see the family all hanging around as Debbie sits in her lounge chair and Eliza attempts to learn the local language of the Kung people. She invites Darwin to come meet some of them with her, but he passes on the offer, saying he's afraid that they'll eat him.
They don't eat monkeys. It's taboo. Probably chimps too.
I think I'll be much safer here.
We've been nominated for our 3rd International Nature Documentarian Award.
Marianne says that the only downside is that the award ceremony is the same day as the Kung's healing ceremony that they're supposed to attend. Debbie suggests that maybe they could make it if they decided to take the convy to the healing ceremony, but Nigel refuses, as he promised the interpreter that arranged the trip that they would tread on foot as to not disturb the local environment. On that note, they decide to get cracking on their adventure.
Oh, Nigel, I forgot to tell you. Guess who else is nominated for the INDA Award? Franz and Frida Fensterkopf.
What'd they enter, Mom?
Beavers attack, damming the raging river. But ours, bonobo, rarest of the great apes, is better. Thanks to you, Eliza.
Her parents continue to shower her with praise, saying that she was the one who helped them find the rare bonobo with her tracking skills. Just then, Debbie chimes in saying that she was actually the one who found it, but Nigel corrects the record, saying that Eliza was the one who tracked it and led them there. Debbie just tried to chase it off with a broom once they got there.
Eliza, Eliza, Eliza. I'm sick of hearing about you. You think you're so special, huh? I'll show you. I'll find those tree people first.
No way. I'll find them years before you do. And they're bush people. And actually, they're now called the Kung.
Whatever. The race is on, dorkweed.
Just like that, the whole family is off on their adventure through the savannah as the girls flex their knowledge of the land along the way, trying to one-up each other and kind of brown-nose their parents a bit. As the family walks, we learn more about how much of a distaste that Nigel has for his competition for the award, the Finsterkoffs.
No maps, darling. We'll seek the Kung as our forebears did, by our wits. Only a Finsterkopf would use a map.
As the adventure and brown-nosing continues, eventually the family finds themselves on the outskirts of the village, separated by a river that at first glance doesn't seem like much, but considering they just finished their wet season, it's actually a lot deeper and the current more rapid than you'd expect. Eliza tries to waltz right into the river, but her father stops her before she gets too deep.
Why don't we, hire some beavers to build a dam like the Finsterkoffs?
Like there are beavers in the desert. Duh.
At least I had an idea, metal mouth.
Nigel, have you noticed you sneeze every time someone says Finsterkoff? I think you're coming down with a case of jealousy.
Don't be silly, dear. Just a tad under the weather.
While the family works to find a way to cross the river, Eliza sees an ostrich crossing upstream at a spot that seems relatively shallow. She runs over and ties a rope from a rock on this side of the river to a tree on the other side so that they can use it to get across. Later on, we see the family arriving at the village, which is bustling with locals, some of whom are crowding around Adam, the translator that Nigel is here to meet up with. Nigel introduces Adam to the rest of his family, and he and Marianne are quick to build Eliza up specifically, saying she's the reason that they were able to get across the river. The translator turns around and tells the surrounding villagers about the family's adventure across the river, and Eliza takes it upon herself to walk up and introduce herself.
Malo!
Close. It's more like malo. Very tough language to wrap your tongue around.
Hey, okay. Hey, Maclinas. Y un fonogias.
She said, hey ho, what do you know, in perfect Kung talk.
As everyone is dumbfounded with Debbie's ability to speak with the locals, Eliza pulls Darwin aside, telling him that this is completely impossible and implying that she must be faking it. Meanwhile, the Kung people are all enthralled with Debbie and her parents are praising her. When Adam asks Debbie how she learned the language, she starts to explain, but before she can, Eliza cuts her off, basically calling her a liar in front of everybody. But when Debbie straight up roasts her in their native dialect, everyone starts laughing at Eliza, making her realize that Debbie actually kind of knows what she's talking about.
Hey Deb, the Kung want to give you a special tour. That cool with you?
Oh, totally.
But...
Mind if we tag along, Pudding?
I would love for you and Mom to tag along.
That's almost more astounding than her ability to speak Kung.
Wait!
You know, I met some other documentarians a few months ago. Maybe you know them. Franz and Frida Finsterkoff?
Eliza sits off with Darwin and Donnie, feeling frustrated and saying that Debbie probably has no idea what she's even saying. Regardless of whether or not that's true, though, it's undeniable that the locals seem to love her as they are braiding her hair while her parents film. Eliza gets fed up with watching her get the special treatment, as she says that she's not going to let her get the last word. We watch Eliza run off and begin calling the ostrich that she saw earlier, planning to ride it into the village, which she's certain will blow away everybody, and in her mind, Debbie will never be able to top that. Donnie ends up spotting it nearby, and they all run up to it. Eliza asks if she can have a ride into the village, promising a plethora of delicious berries in exchange, and the ostrich happily agrees. All the while, back at the village, we see Debbie still holding everyone's attention, as poor Nigel looks like he's caught something serious.
You want to translate, Deb, or should I?
You? I mean, why don't you? You know a lot more than I do. I mean, Zenzele, Diaz, Izoikana.
Be my guest, you're the best. You are good. Okay, here's the deal. The Kung think you're so cool, they want to do something for your family. You know that healing ceremony they're going to do? Since your dad seems to have some kind of bug, they'd like to do it on him.
Nigel is completely honored to get to experience the ceremony and be a part of it, as he happily accepts their offer. Outside of the village, however, Eliza is talking to the ostrich and about to enact her plan. Right at the last moment, though, Donnie hops up on the ostrich and he ends up riding it into the village instead. As luck would have it, Debbie ends up spotting him first, and she runs right up to the ostrich, and with just a snap of her fingers, she gets Donnie off of it. All of the villagers are extremely impressed as they commend Debbie for her skills.
This family is truly blessed by the girl who speaks in Kung and can control the wild ostrich.
Eliza feels completely defeated as the ostrich walks off, and everyone is still completely enamored with Debbie. She says that she has to do something to get some of this attention away from her sister. Just then, some villagers run up saying that they saw a buffalo nearby. This gives Eliza an idea. She assumes that they're all excited about it, so she decides that she's going to lure the buffalo into the village.
And nothing scares the Kung more than the African buffalo. They scare me too. Even the big game hunters are afraid of them. I think we should all stick close to camp.
Off in the distance, Eliza searches through the brush for the buffalo. Unfortunately, she finds it the hard way, by tossing a tree branch and hitting it on accident, prompting it to want to attack her. As Eliza is dealing with that, we cut back over to Debbie, who at this point seems to be getting overwhelmed as she says that all of these people are speaking too quickly for her to keep up.
Debbie, you really got away with words.
Dad, that sounded positively poetic.
It was. At least it rhymed. Sorry, Joe, gotta go. Come to think of it, all your click-talk rhymes.
It does? Gee, I hadn't noticed.
Well, the Kung love it. And you.
I do what I can for my fans. I suppose they'll want autographs?
All of a sudden, Nigel and Marianne realize that Eliza isn't anywhere to be found. As they look around for her, some villagers run up saying that they saw her near where the buffalo was seen. They all begin to panic, and Eliza's parents say that they need to find her before the buffalo does. While they run off, Debbie kicks back for a second, telling Donnie that keeping up these conversations has her exhausted. That is, until he grabs her bag and runs off with it, at which point she chases him, wanting it back. Just like that, we cut back to Eliza, who distracts the buffalo before running off. It lets out an angry roar as it chases them, and just when Eliza thinks that she's gotten away, she comes face to face with an entire angry herd of buffalo.
I really hate being made a fool!
The villagers all run up, but when they see that Eliza is up against the entire herd, they start to back away in fear. Adam pleads with them for help, but they're all very hesitant. Thankfully, Donnie runs up at that moment with Debbie in pursuit. She gets her bag from Donnie, but when she realizes what's going on, she has to think quick on her feet. We see her open her bag and grab a boombox from inside, putting a CD into it and turning it up to full blast. As the buffalo inch closer to Eliza, she walks up to them with the CD player, and the rest of the villagers follow behind her as everyone runs at the herd of buffalo. In response, the buffalo panic, thinking that they're in danger, and they all stampede off. Thankfully, Eliza and Darwin are able to climb the tree above so they don't get trampled.
Eliza, darling, are you all right?
What were you doing?
I just wanted to see a buffalo. The coon were so excited about them.
Oh no, they're afraid of the buffalo, Eliza.
Oh, I'm sorry.
At least you're safe. I mean, you should be sorry. I mean, that was like Mondo crazy.
Quick thinking, Pumpkin.
You were just full of surprises.
The villagers come up and they pick up Debbie, celebrating her heroic efforts. They carry her off as Eliza stays behind, still frustrated by the fact that now Debbie is going to get even more attention from everybody. She picks up the boombox, mocking Debbie's idea to save her with music, but when the music starts playing, she realizes that it sounds oddly familiar. She picks up the lyric sheet from the CD, and all of it starts to make sense.
The Click song? Hey ho, what do you know? It's in Click Talk, then in English. Darwin, that's it. That's how Debbie learned to Click Talk. Oh, wait till everyone finds out about this.
How are they going to find out?
I'm going to tell them. Oh, she's going to be so embarrassed.
She just saved our lives. Why tell anyone?
It's a sister thing, Darwin. You wouldn't understand.
We fast forward to later that evening where everybody is gathered around the fire, dancing around Debbie, Nigel, Mary Ann, and Adam. Eliza walks up and tries talking to them, but Adam stops her, saying that the dancing is a key part of the ceremony, as it's believed to heal physical and spiritual illnesses. Eliza stands there, taking it all in, as she's mesmerized by the flames and by the power of the ceremony. It's almost as if she's hypnotized, maintaining an unbreakable focus on the flames.
Did we miss dinner? Eliza?
The shaman then catches sight of Eliza, almost as if her trance is luring him in. He dances towards her, and we see him gesturing in front of her in a way that almost seems like he's drawing something out of her. Eliza wakes up groggy the next morning to Darwin standing over her. She lets out a big stretch and says that it feels like it's going to be a great day today. Nearby, her family is standing with Adam as Nigel tells them about how amazing he feels, praising them for their magnificent healing ceremony. Adam says he's glad that Nigel is feeling better, but he breaks the unfortunate news to him that he heard over the radio that the Finsterkoffs beat him in the awards ceremony. Immediately, Nigel begins breathing as if he's going to sneeze, but at the last moment, it stops as he comes to realize that Mary Ann was likely correct.
Oh, it seems I was suffering a bout of Finsterkopf envy. Sorry, Poppet.
I'm glad you're feeling better, dear.
Oh, I guess you're going to tell Debbie's secret now. Well, hurry up. You know how I hate confrontation.
I've decided to keep Debbie's secret a secret.
Really?
This whole Click Talk thing, it's okay with me. No big deal, and she did save our lives. Why tell?
Later on, the Thornberry family is bidding the villagers and Adam a very thankful farewell, and while they all begin their long adventure back to the convy, Debbie admits to Eliza that all of this got way out of hand and that she only learned a little bit of their language from a song. Debbie asks her not to tell anyone, and Eliza says that she didn't, as she pulls out the CD, revealing that she knew and decided to keep Debbie's secret.
So, my sister's cooler than I thought. Don't get me wrong, constantly being worshipped by adoring fans totally rocks, but it is a lot to deal with.
You did okay with it. And saving my life. Thanks.
You're welcome. Now go play with your hairy friend before all this bonding triggers my gag reflex.
How'd you think of scaring the buffalo away with rock music?
It always worked with Mom and Dad.
Now, this episode is just so refreshing after so many episodes of Debbie just kind of being consistently pretty miserable, or potentially put in danger when she isn't miserable. I absolutely love this one because it actually portrayed Debbie having a positive experience, and there wasn't really any drawback or negative side of it for her. On top of that though, this one also saw Debbie shockingly wanting to be a part of this lifestyle for once and fit in with the rest of her family. The other time we saw her really participating when she was swimming with dolphins, Eliza had to force her to that point. Furthermore, she's normally mocking Eliza for knowing all of this stuff and coming up with all of these ideas, but this time we kind of see a stark contrast. Debbie wants to receive the same level of praise that Eliza gets to see pretty routinely due to her interest in this lifestyle that they're both forced to live. Debbie even wants to one-up Eliza, and we see her come up with some of her own inventive ideas to help the group reach their destination and solve their problems. It's just kind of mind-blowing to think that this is pretty much one of the only times we would see Debbie actually thriving in a nature environment without having to try super hard. Instead of her typical misery, she was not only enjoying it there, but she was highly popular as well. All of the locals and even Adam the translator absolutely loved Debbie. If there were any major holes in the plot that I have to point out, it would be that anyone who's ever experienced CDs in a boombox, especially in the early 2000s, could tell you that Debbie's plan to scare the buffalo off with that CD player certainly wouldn't work out as smoothly as they had portrayed it. That CD would be skipping like crazy and just getting destroyed inside of that boombox. I mean, back then, you couldn't even slowly hit a speed bump in your car while listening to a CD without it skipping and risking your CD being destroyed, let alone walk while holding an actual CD player above your head. Regardless of that though, this really was a smart idea on Debbie's part, and I appreciate this episode for the simple fact that it's one of the few where we really see Debbie shine bright. Even though she was essentially faking it, getting by with the few words that she knew from songs. It may not have been fully authentic, but I feel like Debbie deserves a win after all of this time of being pushed to the wayside. Another thing that I find really intriguing is how this episode showcased multiple scenarios of jealousy going on at once. We saw a lot of Nigel being jealous of his competition, the Finsterkoffs, all the way to the point where he was physically ill from how jealous he was feeling. This was interesting to me because it's truly out of character for Nigel to feel this way. He's always been a happy-go-lucky, stay in his lane, water off the duck's back, I'm going to enjoy my own life and not worry about comparing myself to others kind of guy. Meanwhile, Eliza being jealous of Debbie is pretty par for the course. It's not surprising that the second the spotlight is on Debbie for once, Eliza loses it. Of course, that also ties directly into her always having to be the main character in her eyes. She needs to constantly be the center of attention, and when she doesn't get that, she throws a massive fit and tries to find ways to one-up people. Honestly, it is pretty wild to me, because we've seen Debbie being miserable consistently. No matter where they are, she's absolutely hating it and wishing that they were somewhere with a mall instead. We've seen her and her sister fight, and when she decides that enough is enough and chooses to leave, Eliza says that she doesn't want her to go. But now we've seen Eliza upset when Debbie actually enjoys her life and gets a taste of the social life that she craves, yet in the setting of their nomadic lifestyle. It almost feels as if Eliza isn't happy with Debbie unless she's miserable. She's unhappy and jealous when Debbie is happy, yet she doesn't want Debbie to leave and build a happy life elsewhere. In all reality, as we follow the trail of breadcrumbs, it leads to the only real possible answer in Eliza's eyes being Debbie maintaining this life of being miserable on the road and shutting herself off from everybody, while Eliza gets most, if not all, of the attention. I mean, I don't want to sit here and drag Eliza like she's the worst person to walk the earth, but let's be honest, this is our 6th episode we've gone through together, and if I've noticed anything, it's that before we cut to commercial, usually something pretty crazy happens. Like an underground tunnel caving in, or a bear about to maul someone. Heck, I'm pretty sure we saw a commercial cut for the buffalo almost attacking in this episode. But also in this episode, they make a big dramatic fade transition out of Eliza's ego being bruised. The big crazy thing before the commercial break, Debbie speaks the local dialect perfectly, and it hurts Eliza's feelings because she can't. It's moments like this that really add to my frustration with Eliza's character because it really felt like she just didn't want to let Debbie have the win even once. In the long run though, I am glad that things ended up going the way they did, but I will admit there is one huge thing that I find myself questioning. That would be the healing ceremony. And I guess I find myself wondering if it was really meant for Nigel, or if it was meant for Eliza. At one point, they made it sound like it could only be for one person, particularly in the way that they said they wanted to do it for Nigel. With that being said though, who knows? Maybe they can heal more than one person per ceremony. I have to point out though, by the next morning, Adam brought up the finster coughs and Nigel actually came very close to sneezing again. Now, this could be remnants of the jealousy still left behind, but if we keep in mind that Eliza, on the other hand, doesn't even have a single hint of jealousy anymore, it could lean into the fact that only one person could have been healed, and maybe that one person was Eliza. It is very interesting to take in the fact that there was clearly some sort of mystical power or magic at play during this ceremony. This ties a bit into the last episode and how magic does exist in this world. Like, already knowing that Eliza got her magical power to talk to animals from a shaman, then seeing this healing ceremony performed by a completely different shaman, it truly does lead to more believability that maybe Zhao from the last episode really was a dolphin that transformed into a human. The more we delve into the mystical side of this show, the more believable that whole scenario becomes, and it adds even further to the mystery and the fact that they didn't truly define whether or not she was the dolphin. I will say though, in a way, this one also feels kind of like a full circle moment. The way that the ending here reflects directly on what we talked about earlier about their secrets as sisters. Again, a lot of these secrets stem from them being things that they could both potentially get punished by their parents for. However, those secrets between them lay the foundation for more trust, which can lean into secrets like this one. The kinds where Eliza has no reason not to spill the beans, other than the fact that in this moment, she's choosing to be kind to her sister. It's a refreshing moment, and I'm thankful that she got to be a part of that healing ceremony because it truly seemed to help her let go of a lot of the struggles that she has with her needing to be the center of attention. It's just a shame that it didn't really stick throughout the rest of the show, considering this is actually a pretty early episode. The way this episode ends, and the choice Eliza made to keep Debbie's secret is crucial to keep in mind as we move forward. With that context fresh in our minds, the next episode delivers a massive revelation that will leave us completely rethinking everything that we've seen so far. Next up, we're looking at an episode that kind of changed everything about the show to a degree. The Season 2 episode, Dances with Dingoes. This episode takes place right about in the center of Australia, near Ayers Rock. We see Nigel outside, happily demonstrating his new boomerang for Donnie.
Did Donnie just throw a plate?
As Marianne walks out of the convy with a fresh bowl of kiwi fruit, we hear Eliza and Debbie arguing inside. Eliza runs out the door holding one of Debbie's magazines as she gives chase. We learn that Eliza took Debbie's magazine because she wants a turn with the computer, which Debbie is currently using to respond to an email from one of her friends.
Because I, unlike you, have friends and a life.
Some life. You do the same thing every day. Sit around and listen to your dumb music and read magazines.
That's not all I do, and give me that magazine!
Debbie gets angry and grabs Eliza's backpack, holding it hostage until she gets her magazine back. She ends up grabbing her magazine from Eliza, and she drops the backpack on the ground.
I do more amazing things in a day than you'll ever do in your life.
Did you hear what she said? I do stuff. Like today, I'm going inside.
Marianne sits down and points out that the girls have been fighting a lot recently, and again, she questions if this life is really what's best for them. At that, Debbie slams the door open, chiming in saying that it's not. Her dad questions if she was listening at the door, but she makes up an excuse saying she was just coming out for some kiwi when she overheard them. As Debbie sits down, Marianne says that she thinks that they all need a little more quality time together, and she pitches the idea of them starting a family holiday complete with games, prizes, and an excellent dinner.
But have you forgotten you have to edit that piece on the warthog by tomorrow?
Oh.
Unless... what if I edited the footage?
You?
Certainly. I'll have it in the proverbial can by 4 o'clock.
Well, I guess you could. It would probably be okay. Then I can work on creating Thornberry Day.
Hope I can't make it.
As Debbie sits there trying to read her magazine, it falls to pieces all over the table. She lets out a frustrated grunt, and as she looks over at Eliza, she grabs the binoculars, deciding that she's just gonna trail her and see what she gets up to instead. As Eliza, Darwin, and Donnie traverse through the outback, they end up stumbling upon a group of dingoes all playing together. Donnie jumps up and decides to run towards them, and Eliza panics for him, realizing that he's in danger.
What? Put him down! How's it going?
Hey, what do you know? She's talking.
Maybe she's a two-legged dog.
Not with those teeth.
Could you stop going around in circles? You're making me dizzy.
The dingoes tell her that she interrupted their ceremonial dance before their hunt. Eliza chimes in saying that she can dance, but the alpha dingo says that they dance to decide who's going to be picked for the hunt. Only the fastest and most clever are chosen. They decide to let Eliza partake in the dance, and she tackles one of the dingoes to try to show her aptitude. As that's happening, back over at camp, we see Nigel just having the time of his life editing together footage for the show.
Who is the unseen predator that has this wildebeest cowering? A vicious tiger, a raging hyena, or...
We see Nigel asking Marianne to come see his creation, but she tells him that she's a little bit wrapped up with their holiday planning. However, when he says that he was hoping to get some advice on what some of the buttons on the console do, as he's clicked a few not knowing what they did, she heads that way in a panic, hoping he didn't cause too much damage. Elsewhere, we see Debbie walking through the hot outback, following the footsteps left by Eliza and the rest of her group. Eventually, she stumbles upon the same rocks that Eliza saw the dingoes through, and she's stunned to see her sister playing, dancing, and wrestling with a pack of dingoes.
Hunting formation! Now! Let's go! Move it! Come on!
Yeah, let's hunt. Move out of the way.
1, 2, 3. Eliza, I think I'm getting it. Oh.
Sorry, Dark, gotta go. Come on, let's hunt.
Eliza asks them why they all stopped running, and the alpha explains that their prey is nearby. They all start sprinting towards the rocks where Debbie is hiding, and she tries to run. However, when she lets out a massive scream, Eliza realizes that they're trying to hunt her sister down. Eliza screams for them to stop, but they can't hear her. The entire pack ends up catching up to Debbie as she trips and is on the ground, defenseless. Right before they can go in for the attack though, Eliza tackles the alpha and starts communicating with him. The two exchange barks and growls back and forth, and before you know it, the alpha is commanding the rest of the pack to leave her alone as they continue on with their hunt. She tries to tell Debbie that they must have scared them off because dingoes aren't used to people, but having just seen Eliza playing with them, she knows that isn't true.
You talked to them and they understood you. It was weird enough that you were running around with them, but talking to them? Ugh, that's too freaky.
I don't know what you mean. Oh.
See? You did it again. That dog understood you. That's the only reason he didn't attack me. Aha! What did Darwin say?
Debbie starts tripping out and connecting the dots. She realizes that everywhere they go, Eliza has been talking to animals this entire time. She asks if Mom and Dad know, and when Eliza knee-jerk says no, Debbie immediately starts sprinting to the convy, saying that she needs to tell them. Eliza chases her and tackles her, but she ends up getting away and continuing faster than Eliza can. Darwin, Donnie, and all of the dingoes start chasing her as well, while Eliza tries to come up with a plan. She tells Darwin that if Debbie tells them, then her parents are going to send her away and she won't be able to talk to him or any other animals ever again. She stresses up and down that she needs a miracle, and the dingoes say that they might just know a person who can help. They end up taking her to a man who lives in a village nearby.
What did you say to him?
I told him you were an Aborigine.
And you talked to dingoes too?
Yes, they said you could help me.
The dingoes and Aborigines have had a bond for thousands of years. They helped us hunt and kept us warm.
Can you help me? My sister's going to tell my secret.
About your special gift?
She doesn't think it's special. She thinks I'm weird, and my life is going to change forever.
The man tries to reason with her, telling her that she needs to calm her mind, but she stresses to him that Debbie is going to tell the whole world and people are going to want to study her and run experiments on her. He advises her to tell the dingoes to get her sister and to take her to Ayers Rock. She barks at them, and as they head off, she tells the man that she isn't sure how any of this is going to help.
I just need a miracle.
I believe in miracles.
Can you make my sister forget what she saw?
I can only make her dream.
We see the dingoes chasing Debbie towards Ayers Rock, which the convy is on the other side of. Eventually, they end up cornering her against the side of the rock, and as she stands there terrified, flares seem to start falling from above. all of the dingoes turn around and walk away calmly as we see the source of the sparks. Back at the convy, Nigel is finishing up his editing while Marianne is finishing up her decorating. They catch a glimpse of the lights coming from above Ayers Rock, and they assume it to be a phenomenon similar to the Northern Lights. So they decide that they need to go find Debbie and Eliza so that they can see this spectacular view. Back at Ayers Rock, however, Debbie is left in a trance. She stares up, completely enthralled by the sight above. Before you know it, she's on the ground, passed out. She dreams of her family living in a pink house in a cute little neighborhood. However, things start to get odd when she realizes that Eliza is a dog. Reality begins to unfold as her dad turns into a walrus and her mother an ostrich. She begins to freak out by just how bizarre all of this is.
What's the matter, Debbie? Dog got your tongue?
Woof! Woof!
Debbie, can you say apple?
Smashing, Derek.
Party favor, anyone?
Apple? Apple?
Woof! Woof!
Smashing, Derek.
Party favor, anyone?
Back in the real world, Debbie is on the ground, sleeping and freaking out while Eliza and everyone else stand above her. They end up carrying her and Darwin back to the convy and laying them down in bed before the man wishes Eliza good luck. He warns her that sometimes this type of thing doesn't work, as there are times that other forces are stronger. However, when Eliza wakes up Darwin, she feels like there's a good chance it'll work, as he seems like he has amnesia so bad that he can't even remember his own name.
Yes, you've got amnesia. It worked! Debbie will forget she saw me talking to animals. Oh, this is great!
Great! I've got amnesia, and all you can think about is your problems.
So you do remember what happened.
Yes, I guess. You look so worried. I was just trying to make you feel better.
Thanks a lot, Darwin. So it didn't work.
Eliza! Debbie!
Watch, Debbie. The minute she wakes up, come get me. Maybe if I beg, she won't tell.
Eliza goes outside and tells her parents that Debbie is inside sleeping. They ask if she's okay, considering that it's so early and Debbie normally goes to bed kind of late. But all of a sudden, they hear her screaming as she bursts out of the convy, yelling about the fact that she woke up to Darwin and Donnie staring in her face. Eliza asks her if she remembers what happened today, and Debbie says that's exactly what she wants to tell them. She begins to tell them about following Eliza out into the outback, but Eliza keeps cutting her off, trying to stop her and change the subject. About the third time, her parents tell her to stop and to let Debbie finish what she's trying to say.
Mom, Dad, Eliza talked to the dingoes!
What did you say?
She talked to dingoes?
Yeah, first she talked to dingoes, then she was a dingo. You were there, Dad, throwing kippers on the grill, only you were a walrus. And Mom, you were there, only you were an ostrich. And Donnie was there, and Darwin. Oh, and I was there. I was a horse, and I had hooves, and yeah.
Their parents begin to chuckle about Debbie's absurd and wild dream, pointing out that it's the sign of a genius, or maybe just too much kiwi fruit. But when Debbie comes to accept the fact that it was all just a dream, Eliza begins to jump around dancing, celebrating, and laughing. At that, Marianne decides that it's a perfect time to jump into their Thornberry Day activities. However, she realizes that she spent all of this time decorating and didn't really plan any activities whatsoever. Nigel says that's alright because every day is a Thornberry Day in his eyes.
Instead, we'll all take a gander at my first venture into filmmaking. Wait till you see this charming warthog who talks surprisingly like me. Come on. Such fun.
What's Thornberry Day? Trust me, you don't want to know. Nah.
Wow. Now, this one is an absolutely absurd one to take in because it genuinely makes you rethink everything that happens in the series past this point. The fact that Debbie had so heavily blurred the line between what was reality and what was a dream is actually really shocking. I can't help but wonder if somewhere deep down in her subconscious, she really does know that Eliza can talk to animals. I mean, she's definitely heard her speaking dolphin like we saw in the episode Only Child, and she talks to Darwin on the Convy literally every day. It's mind-blowing that she hasn't been able to connect the dots yet. In all reality, this episode is actually a pretty dark one when you consider that it's straight up focused on Debbie full-blown catching Eliza red-handed, and Eliza doing everything she can to gaslight Debbie into questioning if she actually saw what she knows she saw. All the way up to, like we've seen before, using magic. Eliza went as far as calling upon an elder Aboriginal Australian to use one of their spiritual rituals to potentially brainwash Debbie into forgetting everything that happened. With that being said, as messed up as that is, it's equally as disheartening that instead of even talking to Eliza for more than 10 seconds, Debbie decides that she immediately needs to run and tell their mom and dad about Eliza's gift. You'd think that maybe she'd have the mind to even listen for a moment or even ask any further questions, but she doesn't even afford Eliza that. It's frustrating because while I don't necessarily agree with Eliza trying to force Debbie to forget everything, Debbie really didn't give her any other choice. For me personally, I think it would have made for a great twist for this to cause a big change in their dynamic as sisters. Imagine if the show went on with Debbie knowing the truth from now on and the two of them keeping it from their parents. It's one of those where I feel like it totally could have made a positive change in the show for that to be a thing early on in the series. Spoiler alert for a more than 20-year-old movie, but in the Wild Thornberrys movie, Debbie learns Eliza's secret again and even makes a reference to this episode. However, at that point, she decides to keep Eliza's secret safe due to the circumstances bringing them closer. As a result, the 5th season of the show would continue with Debbie knowing Eliza's secret. But, I don't know. That whole season almost feels like an entirely different world in a few ways, and that's a conversation for another video. I definitely find it interesting to think about the contrast between these sisters and, well, how they're both so alike at the same time. Both this episode and the one before it were a part of season 2. Both would feature each sister finding out a secret about the other and immediately going to spill the beans. However, outside forces, specifically magic, would play a part in those plans not coming to fruition. On one hand, it's a little disappointing to see how quick these two are to stab each other in the back, but on the other hand, it does lend a lot to the building of their relationship and how they would get closer over time. One huge part of everything concerning this episode, though, is the way that this revelation to Debbie, in a sense, completely changes her outlook on their entire life. This could have potentially been a huge turning point if she hadn't had her mind wiped by that ritual. For Debbie, this isn't just about being dragged around the world anymore. It's about realizing that Eliza's natural connection to animals and her enjoyment of this lifestyle wasn't just some random character trait or a luck of the draw. It was an actual supernatural gift that Eliza has been hiding from everybody this entire time. It feels like this makes her feeling out of place way more justified. I mean, she's the only person in the family who doesn't obviously have some extraordinary purpose that's clear as day. Like, her parents are world-renowned documentary filmmakers. Her sister has a literal superpower. Heck, even Donnie and Darwin serve their own unique purposes. But Debbie is just Debbie. It blows my mind to think that she got this huge moment in finding out Eliza's ability, something that would serve to completely reframe her entire understanding of her sister, her family, and even her own place in this world to a degree. Yet, instead of taking some time to stew on it, Debbie decided to immediately go spread the truth. The thing about this, though, is we can't help but wonder where this decision comes from. It doesn't necessarily feel like it's something done with selfish or malicious intent. Moreover, it almost feels like an act of desperation on Debbie's part. I mean, for her, this is the first time that she's experienced something extraordinary and magical in the entire time of living this lifestyle that she never even wanted to begin with. Look at it this way. This teenage girl has been dragged around the world, forced to live in isolation, missing out on normal teenage experiences, and for what? In all reality, up until this point, it's been for her parents' work, which we all know she doesn't care about for even a second. In an instant, though, this life that she resents drops a huge bomb on her. A revelation that's absolutely life-changing. And her first instinct? To make sure that it's acknowledged. She rushes to go tell her parents and share this information with them, and I'm sure all of us are burning to know why. The thing is, there are multiple reasons as to why she could want to do it. Maybe it's out of spite towards her sister, or maybe it's out of pure amazement. Maybe she's just excited. She could see this as an opportunity to throw something in her parents' faces, like, see, look what's been right under your noses this whole time. In all reality, this makes the whole episode so much more tragic. Debbie has spent so much time being unheard in this life. Then, when the time comes that she stumbles upon something so shocking like this, she doesn't even stop to think. She just wants someone to listen and believe what she saw. Ultimately, it's really sad that things had to play out like this, and I honestly can't help but wonder somewhere deep down inside if the writers of the show wanted Debbie to learn the secret at this point and for it to change the dynamic of the show, and maybe someone higher up told them to scrap the idea and save it for a movie. Who knows? But the sad truth here is that this moment could have been huge. It could have been a big turning point that completely strengthened the bond between Debbie and her sister. But sadly, it wouldn't be that. This episode would come to an end and things would continue the same way that they always were, with Debbie stuck in the same cycle of isolation and unmet desires. But while Eliza's secret may be erased from Debbie's mind, the deeper issue, the fact that she's never had a normal life, still lingers, looming over her like a dark cloud. In this next episode, we see her parents attempt to fix that in their own way, but as always, it can never be that simple. We're checking out the Season 2 episode, Pal Joey. This episode starts out on the island of Tasmania, just south of the Australian mainland. As Eliza explores with Darwin and Donnie, she sees a kangaroo doe being chased by two Tasmanian devils. The kangaroo ends up hopping over a ravine and temporarily gaining some ground on them as Eliza tells her to follow her. The two Tasmanian devils make their way out of the ravine, and when they lose track of the kangaroo, thanks to Eliza helping her hide, they begin to fight with one another and run off.
Thank you, Eliza. I thought they'd had us for sure.
It's gotta be tough running from Tasmanian devils when you're hauling around a Joey.
Tell me about it. Doesn't make grazing, grooming, or foraging any simpler either. This kid's wearing me out.
The mama sets her Joey down, and Eliza ends up playing with him, hopping around and enjoying the excitement. The mama kangaroo starts talking more about how much of a handful that her baby is, so of course Eliza offers to babysit for a while so that she can have a break.
No, dear, you don't understand. He's far too much for you to handle.
Ooh, now you'll never get rid of her.
I can handle him. I watch my brother Donnie all the time. And he's never any trouble.
Well, I could use a break. You know what? I'll do it. Oh, honey!
Yeah, Mom.
How would you like to stay with Eliza for a few hours?
Can I?
The mom tells Eliza not to let her Joey go back over the hill because that's where the Tasmanian devils hang out, and just like that, she says to meet her back here at sunset. As Eliza goes off playing with her new Joey pal, we cut over to the convy where we see Debbie ripping holes in the knees of a fresh stack of jeans. Her mom walks up with a big box saying that the mail came in, and Debbie is completely shocked when she hears that it's for her.
A package? For me? Oh, get out! What the? Ew, prom in a box? Not a real prom, but an incredible simulation?
I saw it in a catalog and had to send for it. Look, it's got everything you need. Prom dress, dance music, simulated snub from the prom queen.
Mother, you're frightening me. This isn't some tragic attempt to relive your own prom, is it?
Her mom says that this is about her wanting Debbie to have as normal of a life as possible. As a matter of fact, she says that she didn't even go to her own junior prom because she was busy with things.
I hate to dump on the whole loser in a box scenario, but don't you need a date to attend a prom?
Way ahead of you, Pumpkin. That's why I've taken the liberty of scouring Tasmania to find your ideal dream date.
Oh, you didn't. Oh, please don't say that you fixed me up.
All right, I won't. Oh, Tom, come on around, my boy.
Nigel drags Debbie over and introduces her to Tom, who is an up-and-coming local sheep farmer. They just kind of stand there awkwardly until Debbie tries to break the ice by bringing up his sheep farming. Tom begins to ramble on and on about all the different types of sheep, and just a few moments later, Debbie storms her way onto the convy.
Oh, darn. Turned out Tom was missing a chromosome. He had to run home and get it.
Throw the stick again, Eliza. Throw the stick! Let's do it again!
Eliza continues throwing the stick, much to her exhausted dismay. She remembers that she has a pack of trail mix in her bag, and she pulls it out so she can give it to Joey, hoping that she can finally take a breather. However, after about 2.5 seconds of breathing, Darwin warns her that Joey is currently destroying all of her stuff. Eliza runs over and tries to stop him as she catches him chewing on her journal. She wrestles it away from him, but he just takes her glasses and makes fun of her, leaving her completely blinded.
Harwin, help!
All right, I can handle it. Excuse me, but... Ow! No! I only wanted to... Ow!
Darwin? Thank you.
Whoa! Ouch! Stop!
As Joey continues running away from Eliza and trying to play, she pleads with him to stop, and we cut on over to Debbie, who's preparing for the prom. She looks at the dress, remarking on how it's very far from her taste in fashion, when all of a sudden her father comes up saying that he's found another boy who'd be willing to be her date to the prom. This time, it's a boy who he knows from a friend of a friend. As it turns out, he doesn't live in Tasmania though, so he's only available via radio, which Debbie finds very odd. And this right here would be our introduction to none other than Sven, who would end up becoming her boyfriend eventually.
It's bad enough I'm having a virtual prom. A virtual prom date is like the outer envelope of sickly weirdness.
Sven to Thornberry 1, I'm with you, Debbie. This is too surreal. Over.
You actually agree with me? Then how'd you get roped into this bizarro situation? Over.
Well, for my parents, this is normal. They're a little eccentric. All they do is eat, sleep, and breathe ancient Celtic ruins. The moldier, the better.
Debbie actually relates to this, except for her parents, of course. It isn't Celtic ruins, it's animals. Her and Sven end up hitting it off pretty well, and we cut back over to Eliza struggling with Joey as he's crossing a river on a log. She ends up getting dunked in the river due to him hopping off of the log, and she climbs out soaked and angry. She tries to put her foot down, but he just talks smack to her and bullies Darwin further by kicking him. At that, Eliza finally decides that she's fed up and that it's time to go find his mom. While they walk off, we cut back to the convy where Debbie and Sven are bonding over their mutual distaste for goth rock.
So, your dad told my dad about this prom in a box thing, and, I was kind of wondering, can I be your prom date? Over?
Yeah, sure. That'd be great. Over.
Terrific. I'll pick you up tonight, 7 o'clock? PM for you, AM for me. If that's okay. Over.
Sven, you have no idea how okay that would be. I'll talk to you tonight. Over and out.
Debbie cheers, saying that she's left her body and gone to heaven, while her mom and dad look through the window, so excited that they're finally able to give their daughter a sense of joy. Marianne ends up bringing up how on her prom night she didn't have a date, so she spent the night at home editing the footage for her first ever documentary.
And you weren't just a tad disappointed?
Not at all. It was a very productive evening.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Out in the wild, the sun is starting to set as Eliza is still looking for Joey's mom, but can't find her anywhere. To pass the time, she decides to play a game with him called Sit on the Joey. After just a few seconds though, a bee or wasp of some sort flies into Eliza's shirt, causing her to stand up and panic. She screams for it to get out of here and go away, but it seems like Joey thinks she's talking to him as he runs away. Eliza looks for him and sees him off in the distance, running away with some Tasmanian devils.
We're gonna go play, Eliza! Be back later!
We're gonna play, all right, kid.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna have some fun.
Darwin, those Tasmanian devils are gonna eat him! Oh, come on! Hurry!
As Joey enters a cave with the Tasmanian devils, Eliza comes to the entrance to yell at them and threaten them. One comes out and attacks her, and she smacks it, causing it to get angry. It chases her up a rock, and she starts to argue with it as she demands it give her the Joey back. The two begin bargaining as they try to trade him for Darwin, or the Joey's mom, considering she'd be a lot more food. But Eliza doesn't bite either of those offers.
How about me? Take me instead.
Eliza, no! Say what?
I'll trade that Joey for me. Ha ha ha! I'm delicious. There's tons of sugar in my diet.
She seems a little bony, but I'll try anything once.
You got yourself a trade. Just come down off the rock and step inside.
Okay, now I am assuming you've got a really clever plan, right?
I'm working on it.
Eliza makes her way towards the cave, and the Tasmanian devils chuckle as she makes her way in. She approaches Joey, who's in the middle of punching a wall, and he gets excited when he sees her, thinking that they're gonna have more fun now that she's here. Eliza turns to the devils and tells them to let Joey go now that they have her. However, they say that isn't going to happen, as they double-cross her, revealing their plan to eat both of them.
What? But you made a deal.
This is great! Now we got twice as much meat. Hey, I want the heads. Back off! They're mine. No fair! You always get the heads.
As the two Tasmanian devils continue to fight one another over who gets to eat which part, Eliza tells Joey that he should join in and play his special way. Joey says that's a great idea, and just like that, he jumps in and single-handedly beats the heck out of those Tasmanian devils, leaving the coast clear for all of them to escape. Back at the convy, Debbie is struggling to walk in her heels and feel comfortable in her dress. She starts to worry about Sven thinking that she's a dweeb, but Marianne assures her that he liked her this morning and he's still gonna like her now. They take her outside and Debbie is actually pretty surprised at how great the decorations look. We hear Sven chime up on the radio and Debbie walks on over to talk to him.
This is Debbie Thornberry to Sven. What's up? Over.
Not much. Hey, Tunes. Cool. Say, Debbie, may I have this dance? Over.
I thought you'd never ask, prom date. Over.
As Debbie enjoys her imaginary dance and her parents sit by feeling accomplished, we cut back over to Joey's mom finally arriving to pick him up from Eliza. Joey tells his mom all about how much fun he had today, and his mom talks about how much she enjoyed her day off. She even made some new friends.
Pleased to meet ya.
We've both lived in these parts for years, but I never noticed what a strong leaper he is.
Hey, I like her, Mom.
So, how did things go?
Oh, fine.
Really? Oh, I'm shocked.
Joey's mama asks what she can do in return for Eliza's help today, and she says that there is one small thing that she's always wanted to do. Just like that, we cut back to the prom, where, late at night, Debbie is still dancing the night away with Sven. Meanwhile, Nigel and Marianne sit atop the convy, enjoying each other's company.
I couldn't help wondering if perhaps you'd do me the honor of being my prom date.
Oh, Nigel! Actually, I was going to edit some footage on the wallabies tonight, but this sounds so much nicer.
The two of them stand up and enjoy a romantic dance together on top of the convy as we pan over, and in the distance we see none other than Eliza riding inside of the mama kangaroo's pouch, having the time of her life, and just like that, the episode comes to an end. Now, what really shocked me about this episode right out the gate is how much it really says about Marianne as a mother. The fact that Marianne went out of her way to order Debbie the prom in a box is a huge gesture of her wanting to give Debbie a normal life and scratch that itch for normalcy that she so desperately craves. We've seen over these last 8 episodes now that there are times where Marianne questions whether or not this lifestyle is the right thing for her kids. The fact that her mother completely disagrees with how she's raising her children is just kind of the icing on the cake and, well, the gas on the fire in some ways. But though she's questioned whether or not this was what's best for them, we've never really seen her feel bad about this lifestyle and how it affects Debbie. A lot of times, actually, she's painted out to be overly dramatic. However, this episode, in a sense, showed us Marianne admitting a bit of guilt over the fact that Debbie doesn't get to live the life that she wants. However, the cold and brutal truth of it is that there's also a chance that this wasn't about Debbie to begin with. If we're being honest, it seemed a lot like, though she didn't want to admit it, Marianne was looking to live vicariously through Debbie and her prom since she herself didn't get to go to her own junior prom. Furthermore, it's even more heartbreaking when you realize that though her parents are trying their best to help, they just can't give her a normal life. What takes this a whole nother layer deeper though is the fact that they don't even know what Debbie wants, if we're being honest. Her mom bought her this prom in a box, which is a kind gesture, but Debbie is more of a ripped jeans kind of girl, not a bright blue Cinderella dress one. By all means, she does have a very versatile style, and that's not to say she didn't rock it, but like, she even said herself that it was way different from her normal attire. Then her dad tries to set her up with a Tasmanian farmer, thinking that he would make the perfect date for her. But come on. This dude was probably the furthest thing from Debbie's type. I'm sure he's someone's type, but certainly not hers, and it's surprising that Nigel couldn't tell that from a mile away. As far as digesting this episode at the point that we're at in this video goes, though, it's an interesting one to watch in hindsight, considering we already saw the end of Debbie's relationship with Sven. Yet, in the context of this finally being the time when her parents feel kind of guilty about her lack of a normal life and try to do something special for her to make up for it, it just felt like this one fit this spot towards the end of the video best. We've watched this uphill battle of Debbie struggling with the side effects of their nomadic lifestyle and the fact that it's robbing her of her teenage years to a degree. Yet to get to the point where we realize that her parents really do feel kind of bad for this lifestyle, it might slightly change how you look at them. Again, they've always taken good care of their children, but as far as Debbie's happiness is concerned, as long as they live this life on the road, it's completely out of their hands. But at least they seem to be trying to bring her some happiness at times. Now, I certainly have to bring up that moment where Debbie and Sven enjoy their dance together as the sun is setting. It's honestly a really bittersweet moment to take in. Like, here she is, finally getting a taste of what she's been hoping for all of this time. But you and I both already know which direction this ends up going. We both know the level of heartbreak that she ends up feeling later on, and it's really sad because now that we have this tiny shred of context, it really makes sense now. Sven wasn't just a random boy who broke up with her. He was the first boy that she was actually able to connect with and attempt to form a relationship with. Poor Debbie has spent her life being stuck in this convy that she hates, feeling like the only teenager in the middle of nowhere. Then along comes this boy who gives her a shred of happiness in a vast desert of isolation. In all reality, her having a boy like Sven in her life changed everything, and it made her feel at least a little bit less alone. But with that being said, it makes it hurt so much more when we realize that he would end up ultimately leaving her heartbroken and feeling more alone than ever. The thing about this episode, though, is that it was a massive show of Debbie's acceptance of where she's at in life. We've seen her try to leave, we've seen her staying and being fed up, and in this one, to be honest, there wasn't even that much complaining on her part, at least in comparison to normal. She actually seemed pretty thankful, as a matter of fact, especially when we reached the point that she got to meet Sven. But while this moment in time showed her parents trying to give her something special, the next episode that we're going to check out takes a completely different turn. One where Debbie isn't the one being taken care of or catered to, but rather where she steps up and proves herself capable in a way that we've never seen before. We're looking at the Season 4 episode, Black and White and Mom All Over. This episode starts out in central China as we see a plane flying to a flare before it drops a box with a parachute. Down below is parked the Combi as we learn that the flare came from Debbie, who was waiting for a package from a catalog.
Debbie, you know signal flares are only to be used in an emergency.
It's been 8 months, 2 weeks, 10 days, and 13 hours since I've been in a mall. This is an emergency. How does it look?
Marianne, start the camera. A giant panda has wandered right into our midst. Oh, heavens. I'm so sorry, Debbie.
Nigel and Eliza share a laugh over the fact that he mistook Debbie for a panda bear, and Marianne reels them in, saying that her and Nigel need to take off. Eliza begs them to let her come with, but they both agree that she's too young to cross the treacherous river that they're going to be facing. On top of that, Marianne says there's a chance that they're going to end up cold and damp all day waiting around for a panda that might not even show up.
What's the point of coming all the way to China if I don't get to see a panda?
You're half right, Brainiac. What's the point of coming here at all?
Not to worry, Poppet. If we don't capture a panda on film, we'll pay a visit to the Wulong Natural Reserve to see one.
Any questions before we leave you in charge?
Uh-huh. Do you think this looks better on me with the hood up or down?
On that note, they say that they'll start back at sundown as they take off. Debbie begins her new kickboxing workout, and when Eliza looks down at Debbie's new jacket, she gets an idea. We see her grab it from the box and slyly sneak away holding it. As her and Darwin walk through the woods, we learn that Eliza plans to wear the jacket to hopefully lure in a panda because they're really shy. She's hopeful that since her dad mixed Debbie up for a panda when she was wearing the jacket, maybe an actual panda will do the same to Eliza when she has it on. Darwin stresses how terrible of an idea that this is, but Eliza doesn't pay him any mind as she continues on her way. From there, we see Marianne and Nigel crossing a very rickety rope bridge as it swings above a massive cavern with the wind bustling around them. She starts stressing to Nigel that these feel like monsoon winds. However, he's quick to dismiss the warning, saying that they are nowhere near monsoon season. Meanwhile, back at the camp, we see Debbie completely wiped out from the workout only on round 1, as she sits down surrounded by empty energy drink cans.
Quit it, Nature Boy, and go play with Eliza. Out of there! You'll ruin my jacket. Hey, where is my jacket? Eliza! You stay here till I get back!
Out in the jungle, we see Eliza crawling around and chomping on some bamboo, hoping to lure in a panda while Darwin hides in a tree nearby, keeping lookout. Just then, he starts shouting about danger as we see Debbie approaching, yelling for Eliza to take her jacket off. Eliza ends up hiding from her in the bushes as her sister continues to hunt for her.
I can't believe you threw my jacket in the dirt! How rude! You are definitely not my jacket.
Darwin, that panda cub just called my sister Mommy.
The panda cub starts rubbing all over Debbie and trying to get her attention, but she's kind of freaked out by it and telling it to go away. She pulls a protein bar out of her pocket and tosses it to the panda to keep it occupied. Meanwhile, Eliza emerges from the bushes nearby, holding her jacket. She immediately starts apologizing and saying that Debbie can have her pearl necklace to make up for it as she begins pushing her towards the combi, saying that she should go get it right now. Debbie heads off, but much to Eliza's dismay, the baby panda is nearly glued to her side. Eliza blocks it from following her, and the poor thing falls back, terrified, and it goes to hide in the bushes.
Don't be frightened, little panda. What's your name?
Shisho. I want my mommy. Why'd she run away?
Oh, that wasn't your mom. That was my sister. She's a human like me. Well, not exactly like me.
Don't you know what your own mother looks like?
I just opened my eyes for the first time, but my mommy has lots of hair and brings me food, just like that one.
Darwin suggests that they get out of there before his real mother shows up, but Eliza is worried that maybe he doesn't have a mother and that he was abandoned. Before they can decide what to do, though, Shisho makes his way out of there and starts heading towards Debbie, who is back at the convy making some food for Donnie. She finishes making his ketchup and mustard sandwich before tossing it to him and beginning the next round of her workout tape. As she starts her kickboxing though, Donnie gets a hold of the ketchup and mustard bottles, nearly making a mess of her new coat. Thankfully though, she stops him right at the last second.
Does the universe not want me to have this jacket?
Just then, Eliza and Darwin run up and Debbie asks them why this panda keeps following her. Eliza basically brushes the question off and tells Debbie that she'll take care of it. We see Eliza pick up Shisho and try to walk off with him in her arms.
Let's go climb trees.
No thanks, I want to play with my mommy.
You'd rather play with her?
Yeah, isn't she great?
Gross! Bear germs!
Eliza tells Debbie that, like it or not, the cub picked her and she has to take care of him. Debbie protests, saying that she doesn't want that, but Eliza doubles down, saying that she was the chosen one.
Forget it. What was I thinking? You can barely keep Donnie out of trouble, let alone babysit an abandoned panda cub. Come on, baby. Come on.
Oh, yeah? Well, Mom and Deb must think I'm pretty capable. They put me in charge, didn't they?
Just like that, Debbie decides that she's going to take charge of the bear, and we see her sitting down and reading her magazine while it climbs up onto her lap and tries to cuddle with her. She kicks him off, but he just helps himself right back up, disregarding her wishes. A little while later, Eliza, Darwin, and Donnie come back from the river, shivering and freezing, saying that they hand-washed the ketchup and mustard from Debbie's new jacket.
Are you happy now?
Happy? Let's see. I'm still stuck in a forest, hundreds of miles from civilization, with no one to interact with but stinky animals and you, so no. But it looks like you did a decent job of cleaning my jacket. See that, Bear? Don't even think about... Bear?
Eliza explains to Debbie that she has to play with him to keep him entertained because Shisho is just a baby. She goes onto the Convy and it follows her while Eliza kicks her jacket in protest, angry that the panda didn't choose her instead. A while later, Debbie sets up a little fort for the bear out of some blankets and some chairs. But unfortunately for her, it doesn't really understand what she's getting at. However, Donnie is happy to help, tackling the panda into the fort while Debbie goes to sit down and read. She sits by enjoying herself as the panda has a great time with Donnie. Meanwhile, Eliza goes off to see if maybe she can find the panda's real mother. Not long after, we see her approaching the rope bridge that her parents had crossed before. As her and Darwin contemplate crossing it, a massive leopard comes up behind them.
You're trying to give away a panda cub? I'd be happy to take it off your paws for you. Where is the little morsel?
Thanks, but no thanks. Come on, Darwin.
What about your tasty friend there?
Just then, it begins to pour as Darwin begs Eliza to go home. At that, she says that she gives up and that she just has to accept that the baby panda likes Debbie more than her. As soon as she says the words baby panda though, a panda on the other side of the bridge chimes up saying that her baby is missing. Eliza tells her that the baby's name is Shisho, and the mom realizes that Eliza is talking about her baby, which she says was asleep when she went to go get some food. Unfortunately though, the bridge that they're on isn't able to hold the weight of the massive bear, and it breaks as the poor thing is sent plunging to the waters below.
Shisho! My baby! Don't worry! Shisho is safe!
Lucky him!
Eliza climbs up the cliff, saying that they need to get back to camp before that mother panda finds Debbie, and just like that, we cut back over to the camp where both Donnie and Shisho are holding Debbie in fear over the impending storm. As they're all just in a frantic panic, we then see Marianne and Nigel, who are taking shelter in a cave waiting for the storm to pass. Nigel is completely stoked as he says that this is the perfect opportunity to try out his new night vision goggles and use them to check out the cave.
No. There's some dried bamboo, a fascinating rock formation. Oh, and over there is an enormous leopard.
Did you say leopard?
Marianne, with these goggles, I can see every spot.
Back at the Combi, things are flying everywhere as Debbie calls for Eliza and Darwin to get back there before everything gets worse. Thankfully, she's able to think on her feet and we see her instincts kick in. She remembers the emergency flares from earlier and she grabs one from the box, tossing it into the air to hopefully call Eliza back there. When she arrives with Darwin, however, they are in an absolute panic. Debbie ushers everyone in before closing them into the convy, and as they finally make it into their sanctuary, we cut back over to Nigel and Marianne, who are right in the sights of the leopard. Nigel decides to throw his backpack with all of their food and supplies in it so that they can make a run for it, while the leopard gets at their food, and as they make a quick escape, we jump back over to the convy where Debbie gets everyone tucked in and begins making some cocoa to hopefully calm all of their nerves. However, the lightning strike outside is enough to send everybody into a frenzy. As Debbie heads towards the radio to try and reach their parents, Eliza takes a moment to talk to Shisho.
Shisho, I found your real mother, and she's probably going to be here any second.
You're silly. My mommy's here. Doesn't she take good care of me?
Thanks, Shisho. You've known your real mom a few months. Close your eyes and describe her to me, the way you remember her before you opened your eyes.
Well, she brings me food, and she grooms my fur, and her nose is kind of cold and wet.
Just then, Eliza hears some sounds outside, and she looks and sees the mama panda out there. She runs up and opens the door to the convy to get her attention as trees are falling around her outside. At that moment, the panda walks right onto the convy and brings Shisho some of the food that he's used to, and just like that, it all hits him and he realizes that's his real mom.
Mommy?
Come here, Shisho. What's that bear doing here? Back up!
It's okay, Debbie. I'm pretty sure this is Shisho's real mother.
The girls stand there as they watch Shisho and his mother leave as he turns around to say goodbye and thank you. As Debbie says good riddance, thankful that she isn't in charge of babysitting anymore, Eliza admits to her that she's actually good at it and that she did a phenomenal job of taking care of all of them.
Well, don't tell anyone, okay? If Mom and Dad find out, they might get used to the idea. Okay, enough sisterly bonding. Now back inside. You're soaking wet and I'm still in charge.
After the storm clears, Nigel and Marianne finally make it back to the convy where everyone is cleaning up the mess left behind. Debbie tells them about how the storm hit when Eliza and Darwin were out and that she had to shoot off a flare, and they both end up being really proud of her for handling the situation so well and keeping everyone safe.
Yes, well done, Poodles. We knew we could count on you.
Our family is the wildest life I know.
Well, naturally. They're thornberries, aren't they?
honestly, you guys, I can't think of a better episode to bring us to the conclusion of this video. This episode is the crown jewel of Debbie episodes in my opinion. It's a crucial one for fully understanding Debbie as a character on a deeper level. Throughout nearly the entirety of this series, Debbie has been portrayed as generally uninterested in most things, very lazy, and, for the most part, resistant to responsibility. However, this episode would completely change all of that. When her mom was out of the picture, she had the responsibility to step up to the plate, and when she did, she knocked it out of the park. In all reality, it makes us kind of have to stop and rethink every other action that we've seen from Debbie that kind of contradicts this. This whole time, was she actually lazy? Or was she just never really given a reason to step up before? Could it be that maybe she was unmotivated because she feels like she has absolutely no control over her life? We have to be honest and admit that Debbie has always been portrayed as, well, not the most capable member of the household as far as taking care of things and surviving nature goes. This one completely demolishes that foundation, however, as it shows Debbie stepping into this maternal role effortlessly, which would really suggest to us as viewers that maybe she's far more capable than she's been letting on. As the dominoes fall, I can't help but find myself wondering if maybe she had grown up in a more traditional household. Would she have been more responsible by default? That's one question that we may never know the answer to. However, we certainly need to recognize the stark contrast in this episode to Debbie's typical attitude. I mean, usually Debbie is constantly complaining about her family and their lifestyle. However, this one would actually see her making the best of it, doing her kickboxing and getting packages via airplane. It's interesting because this might be the first time that we actually see Debbie just instinctively wanting to protect her family and just provide them comfort through the storm, even though she likely wouldn't admit it. It's really ironic when you look at it that way, because Debbie, who has spent years complaining and wishing that she could just leave, is the one who ends up being the one holding everything together when it all came down to it. What it really boils down to is the fact that for Debbie, this one really just showed us kind of a hidden side to her character. Debbie so regularly puts on this sarcastic and indifferent front when deep down inside, she truly cares about her family, and this episode proved it to us. She may try to hide it, but in all reality, this one showed us that she really does care about her family, on top of her being very responsible. Another thing that is truly amazing about this one, though, is how this entire time we've seen Eliza do nothing but look down on Debbie, treat her like crap, and call her stupid to her face on multiple occasions. Contradictory to that, though, this episode is finally one that would change that and result in Eliza actually seeing Debbie being more than capable. Like, sure, it's one thing to get accepted into a girls-only boarding school because of your wealth of random knowledge, but it's a completely different thing to prove yourself competent as a caretaker, especially to a bear of all animals. And in this one, Debbie did more than just prove that. She went above and beyond. Seeing Eliza finally admit that in the end and thank Debbie for her taking responsibility, it genuinely was a really enjoyable moment, and it's one that 9 episodes in truly makes for a satisfying bookend to this story. All in all, we've seen so many layers of Debbie's story. We've seen her struggles with her lifestyle, her clashes with Eliza, her trying to escape, her accepting her lifestyle and trying to make the best of it, and of course, being the responsible big sister that she was meant to be. Through everything here, it's been proven that despite Debbie's frustration with life, she's more than capable. It's been shown that she's more than just the whiny teenager that she's often branded so maliciously. She's complex, she's intelligent, and she's even more responsible than her parents or sister give her credit for. On top of everything else though, she's a Thornberry. She's a part of this wild group of nomads, and in the long run, we can safely say that though it's thoroughly miserable on many levels for her, Debbie wouldn't trade this life away for anything. In all reality, her resentment that she feels in life isn't about her family. It's about the situation that she's trapped in. But I have to ask, what do you guys think? Did these last few hours change your perceptions of Debbie Thornberry? Let me know in the comments down below. I always love seeing your guys' feedback. Of course, special shout out to my friends in the true 90s kids tier. You guys are the absolute best, and your continued support means so much to me. And on top of that, a huge special shout out to the absolute legend in the Sean's best friend tier. It's mind-blowing that you show me so much support, my friend, and I can't stress enough how much you being a member helps me, my family, and my channel in general. Thank you so much, my friend. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like and stick around for another one. As always, thank every single one of you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Peace.